seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the Play Show, yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor, 345 Hudson Street. Welcome in on what is a Thursday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, or, of course, streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. That's 855-212-4227. Or you could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, X, at Zach Gelb. That is ZACHGELB. I got Ryan Botcher. I got Stuart Kovacs. We are rocking and rolling all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time. There's a lot of chaos that's going to ensue in the next 3 hours because we have a holiday party here today. And I think the holiday party gets started at 4 p.m. Eastern time, and I think it runs to 8 p.m. Eastern time. There's a lot of people who are antisocial around here, on the on-air side, that for some reason they don't like to go to the holiday party. Now, I'm someone that I always enjoy going to the holiday party. I always enjoy the free drinks. I always enjoy the free food. I always enjoy talking to people that I would not normally talk to. But for some reason, there's a lot of people, you go to the holiday party, nope. You go in the sales pit, we're going to the holiday party if you go into the sales pit. But I don't know why. More on-air hosts or producers and tape ops and board ops and update anchors don't go to the holiday party. I don't understand it. Botcher's looking at me right now as he's like a scared puppy dog with his tail in between his legs. I wasn't even going to bring you up, Botcher. But now you look so scared. I said to Botcher before the show, right? Young guy in the company, bright future. I said, Botcher, you go to the holiday party? He's like, nah, not for me. Now, all right, that's fine, not for you. But I'm just looking out for you, Botcher. You being a younger person in the company, there's a lot of bigwig executives here today. Right? I went into, go get a cup of water. Actually, no, I put my sandwich. Stu and we got sandwiches today. We forgot there was a holiday party. Stu and I can't go to the holiday party this year, which I'm really upset about if you can't tell. But after the show, Stu and we got to make a dash to Penn Station because we got to get on our Amtrak train to get to Army-Navy Radio Row, which will be live on tomorrow. So our train's at 6:25. The show ends at 5:55. We got to carry all of our luggage, get to the subway, take the subway into Penn Station, which is about 8 minutes. If we could catch on 14th Street, the express, then we'll get there in 5 minutes. So this is going to be fun because Stu's going to see me traveling, and I've never traveled, I think, with Stu before. We were at a draft together. We had a draft together, but that's when we weren't working together. So Stu and we're going to be watching the Thursday night football game tonight on the Amtrak. Maybe charge a cocktail or two to the company on that Amtrak train down there. And we'll watch a Thursday night football game. Stu will probably hate me by Friday. And then I'm leaving Friday night. Stu's going to the game Saturday. But when I agreed to go to Army-Navy Radio Row, I did not know that the company holiday party was on the day that we're leaving. So I'm very upset. But Botcher, you have an opportunity to go to the company holiday party. And I've just said this, whether you're young or you're old, but you're young, I think it's a smart thing to go, to show some face, talk to some people that you don't necessarily talk to, because then they'll be like, oh, I know who Ryan Botcher is. Oh, Ryan Botcher, good guy. And I think he could only help you down the road. Like last year, I'll tell you this. I was the only Monday through Friday on-air talent from, at the time, CBS Sports Radio or down the hall at WFAN to go. And I got a few notes from executives here in the company that said, it was really cool that you ended up coming to the company holiday party. Now, I didn't think anyone gave a rat's ass if I showed up to the company holiday party, but I'm just saying, Botcher, I would reevaluate your decision. And if I would never steer you down the wrong path, I wouldn't. I'm always looking out for you. But I think it's a good career opportunity for you, to show who Ryan Botcher is. Maybe we'll get you up to a keg stand, Botcher. And then all of a sudden you become a big-time celebrity and a big-time person of interest in the company.
I'm going to be honest. I completely forgot they sent the email.
Oh, okay. So you're lazy.
I saw it when it first came out, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. They got Boomer Esiason from the other side to actually star in it. I'm like, oh, that's interesting for once. And then I forgot about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I never had the motivation to check in on it again.
Okay. So now you're not just going to go?
No.
Okay.
No effort.
Well, you're here. Why won't you go now? No?
No. You. The way you just described it is it's a bunch of salespeople celebrating the first time they're actually in office this year.
No, that's not true. I'm sorry. That's just not true. There are some salespeople that you don't know, but there's a lot of good, hardworking salespeople around here. I don't think that's a true comment from you.
That's what I feel.
I really don't think that's a true comment from you. That's a bad job. Oh, you just because you see, this is why you feel that way. Because you're here in a lot of weird hours. So a salesperson's job is a typical 9 to 5. You work a lot Monday through Friday. You work a lot of like Saturday nights, right? Sunday mornings. Like you work bizarre hours. Now, I would say, and I got to be careful here because whenever you rank people in the company, that becomes a problem. But I would say from our behind the scenes part-time guys, right? You're at like the top of the food chain. I think you're like the number one part-time guy behind, like Carlos has got a full-time job. He was here for a while. Manny's now got a full-time job. He was here for a while. But I would say you've quickly have elevated yourself as being a number one part-time guy on this side of the hall. So I think that it would be I think you're in good standing. But I think you'd be in better standing if you went to the company holiday party. That's it. It's fine. No worries. All right. We will, I'll break bread with Stu tonight. I don't know if you'll break bread with anyone else around here ever again. And you're like, there's no way Botcher's going to this company holiday party.
No shot.
Zero. Absolutely.
To be honest, zero.
All righty.
Zero.
Let me get to the NFL teams right now that I think have made a mistake. And I know that they could rectify this mistake. But if you look at the names on the market right now, Bill Belichick. You look at the names on the market right now of teams that have passed on Bill Belichick. There are guys that they could potentially hire, like a Ben Johnson, like a Mike Vrabel, that will be positively met. I don't think Pete Carroll is getting a job in this hiring cycle. It's weird. Pete Carroll, you would think, would be a coach of interest. No one besides myself has even mentioned the name Pete Carroll on a national platform. So you look at the top three names that were on the market: Belichick, Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel. So if any of these teams that I end up mentioning end up hiring Ben Johnson or Mike Vrabel, I think they're off the hook. But when you look at now Bill Belichick going to UNC, why did Bill Belichick go to UNC? I think for two reasons. Bill was really annoyed at the last hiring cycle when the Atlanta Falcons basically were going to hire him, and then Arthur Blank let people inside the building infiltrate his brain on why they shouldn't hire Bill Belichick when he wanted to hire Bill Belichick. They could dance around that topic all they want. They could sit there and tell you, hey, that's not what happened. We only offered the job to Raheem Morris. Arthur Blank wanted to hire Bill Belichick. And then guys like McKay and other guys, Fontenot in that organization, they prevented that hire from happening because they were concerned about their own jobs. I get it. But you look at this hiring cycle, it's one thing in the last one where Bill didn't get a job, and I thought it was stupid that only one team interviewed him. But now you look at this one, when Bill says, I'm serious about UNC. I'm serious about being the next head football coach of the UNC Tar Heels. But with that being said, if a team like, I don't know, Jacksonville called him, hey, Shad Khan here, Bill, do us a favor. Just trust us. Don't go to Chapel Hill. Just wait a few weeks, and we have a serious interest in hiring you as an ex-head football coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Bill would have said, okay, I'll bypass this opportunity with the Tar Heels, and I'll go to the NFL. But that didn't happen. Didn't happen. And I know that when you read the Seth Wickersham piece, it could be presented as this is Bill saying, bleep you to the NFL. I'm done with you. And I'm annoyed with how I've been treated. So I'll basically give you the middle finger out the door and I will go take a college job. Whatever the reason is, I think it's flat out embarrassing that a coach that has won 6 Super Bowl championships did not really receive legitimate interest last year besides one team, and they didn't have the cojones to hire him because they were stupid. And that's why incompetent organizations make incompetent decisions. And then this offseason, even though it hasn't started yet, I know we could all sit there and pretend tampering doesn't happen. I know we could all sit there and people could believe, oh, well, a decision really isn't made until the coach is fired. And there's already coaches that have been fired in this league. But this idea that another team couldn't have called Belichick, even with, I seen people say, oh, well, what happened with Brian Flores and the Giants and the whole Brian Daboll hiring, you know, teams are very quiet in what they say before they make the hire, before the job's available, and all that nonsense. But a team could have tampered. A team could have said, and Bill's a free man right now, or he was, but a team could have said, even though we have a sitting coach in place, we're going to go make the decision to tell Bill, don't take the UNC job. And I'm very disappointed that in the last hiring cycle and now in this one, no one kind of showed their cards before they were getting ready to make a move, that no one ended up giving Bill the assurance that he would get a head coaching job in the NFL. Because, hey, Bill could go to UNC, and Bill is now, got introduced today. He's not winning a national championship. You know, could he make the college football playoff? It's a long shot, but yeah, I think it's possible. You know, Bill's going to probably go win 7-8 games a year at UNC. And could there be a year where he overachieves and he gets 9 or 10 and he's in the ACC championship game and he beats Dabo Swinney at Clemson? Absolutely. But the way that people talk about Bill Belichick right now, I think it's ridiculous. I do. So the guy at his last 2 years in New England had 8 wins and then had, 5 wins or 4 wins? So that takes away from a legacy that he built decade after decade, where he was the most feared coach in the NFL and he was the preeminent coach in the NFL. And because he's a little rough around the edges, all right, oh, man, we can't hire Bill Belichick? Yeah, because all these coaches are warm and fuzzy, let me tell you that. So I'm disappointed today in the Atlanta Falcons for messing this thing up last year. And how's it working out for you? You may not even win the NFC South this year. I'm disappointed in teams like Dallas, Jacksonville, Chicago, even New Orleans. I don't think anyone really wants that Saints job if we're being real. Why wouldn't you bring in Bill Belichick? I'm not saying Bill would want you, but I think Bill looked at the market and he realized that no one was really hitting his phone. No one was saying, hush, hush, wink, wink, don't take the UNC job. And now you look at it, I'm fascinated to see what teams like the Saints, the Bears, the Jaguars, and the Cowboys end up doing. I'll say it now. We talked about this earlier in the week that I thought there was a chance Mike McCarthy come back at the Cowboys coach. Now with Bill off the market, and I don't think they're getting Vrabel. I don't think they're getting Ben Johnson. I kind of think McCarthy's now going to be back. Jacksonville, I don't think you're going to get a top-line coach. So what second-tier coach, third-tier coach are you going to get? The Chicago Bears, yeah, you should hire either Mike Vrabel or Ben Johnson. But would it shock me if the Chicago Bears end up hiring Cliff Kingsbury or Joe Brady? No, it wouldn't. And you're telling me you'd rather have Joe Brady or Cliff Kingsbury over Bill frickin' Belichick? Please. Get lost with that. So, who are the Jaguars going to get? Who's Jacksonville going to get? You could have had Bill freaking Belichick. And say what you want. Oh, Bill's nothing without Tom Brady. Oh, the game has passed Bill Belichick by. A guy that's 14 wins away from breaking Don Shula's record. The fact that he doesn't even have that opportunity is bizarre. And ultimately, at the end of the day, he's a grown man. He made a decision. He took the UNC job. But I have a tough time believing that Bill would have taken the UNC job if he knew that there was going to be some interest in some teams. And I think in September and October, it was trending towards there was going to be interest. But then in the recent months, November, early December, Bill was like, I'm looking at this market. Either I wouldn't go there or I don't think those teams are going to be interested. So now they will sell us on why Bill wanted to go to college and why Bill wanted to be a college coach. But let's be real. Bill wants to be back in the NFL. Bill's settling for college, and he'll talk himself into college, and I'm sure he'll be fine at UNC. And I put the majority of the blame here, on these NFL teams. And there's a lot of bad NFL teams that are hiring new coaches every 3 or 4 years. And the fact that you have a guy that has won 6 Super Bowl championships, and I know he does it a different way, but you're not willing to trust him to run your NFL team? Well, I guarantee you this. Let's say there's 6 or 7 jobs that open up. I don't even know if it'll be that many. There's already 3 that are open, right? The Jets are out of the discussion, but you had the Jets, right? You have the Saints, you have the Bears that have been open. So let's say maybe 6 or 7 max open up this year. I would guarantee you in this cycle, maybe at most 2 guys turn out to be long-term successful coaches. Maybe only 1, right? Usually how it works. So you rather take the chances, and I'm not saying these guys are bad coaches. Like, take Ben Johnson, take Vrabel out of it. But, like, you rather take the chance on an Aaron Glenn, who's a fine defensive coordinator. You know, Brian Flores, I think, is deserving of a second opportunity, but we don't know what his ceiling could have been with the Miami Dolphins. You know, Joe Brady, Cliff Kidd, like, these guys, you rather take your chances on those guys. And I don't care if Bill Belichick's about to be 73, than Bill Belichick. And I do think that if you say 7 jobs open, 5 or 6 of them 3 years from now are going to be saying, man, we could have had Bill and we didn't get Bill because we were stupid, right? And we were afraid of the image of Bill Belichick, and we were afraid, Bill is someone that, hey, he's not the easiest to deal with. It's not easy to win football games in this league. Right? Bill Parcells wasn't the easiest person to deal with. I'm sure Vince Lombardi wasn't the easiest person to deal with. I don't always need the easiest guy to deal with to coach my football team. I need a guy that can win and will do whatever it takes to win. And Bill does whatever it takes to win. And he's won 6 Super Bowl championships as a head coach, 2 as a coordinator. So you want to go roll the dice on a Joe Brady, an Aaron Glenn, Cliff Kingsbury, Liam Cohn, be my guest. Taking a risk. Not that big of a risk with Bill, because the proof has been in the pudding for 20 plus years. I'm disappointed with probably like 8 to 12 teams in the NFL right now. That's where I'm disappointed at. Because there are 8 to 12 teams in the NFL, whether it was last year or it's going to be this year, that could have had an opportunity to either hire Bill last year or indicate to Bill this year, we're interested. And the only one that seemingly was interested was Atlanta. Maybe the Cowboys, just with what Jerry has said publicly. But outside of that, everyone else is like, nope, we'd rather keep whatever garbage head coach we have right now, or we are not interested because people are afraid that they're going to lose their job in the organization. And this is not on presidents of the organization. It's not on general managers, right? It's not. These are on the owners. Because there's a lot of owners that saw Bill Belichick on the sideline just drag your team up and down the field for years. And you don't want that guy when he became available? Please, give me a break. And don't tell me he's too old. Don't tell me he's washed up. Don't do that nonsense. Because I see with players, a lot of old, washed-up quarterbacks that were established in this league become available, and guess what? They get a starting job. It's no different than a head coach. It's no different whatsoever. So Bill to UNC, it's bizarre. It is kind of sad. I'm not saying it can't work, but it's sad because this dude should be on the NFL sideline. And why isn't he? Because there's a lot of owners in this league that are a bunch of cowards. That's just the bottom line. Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll take a timeout. Has Coach Prime changed the way schools similar to Colorado will hire in the future? I'll get to that when we return in 5 minutes. But first, football season is in full swing, and you can take full advantage by winning some cash with Sleeper Picks. Sleeper Picks is a fantasy game, but you can win real money. Just pick more or less on these 2 of your favorite player stats. If you're right, you could win. You can pick up to 8 players, so up to 100 times your money. For a limited time, Sleeper has a special offer. New users just have to play $5 and receive $55 in free bonus entries. That's right. If you deposit $25 and play $5, they'll give you 11 $5 bonus entries to start playing. So download the Sleeper app now and use promo code SCORE and get it on this promo before time runs out. What are you waiting for? Download Sleeper today and unlock one of the fastest growing fantasy sports apps in the world. Use code SCORE to claim the play $5, get $55 bonus entry offer. That's code SCORE. Must be at least 18 years old in most states and present in state where it is legal to wager. Promo code location and other restrictions apply. Minimum deposit $25. See terms to use for details at sleeper.com. Please play responsibly. Call 1-800-426-2537 for help. Sponsored by Sleeper, a Blitz product.
You're in a 4-minute break. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, welcome back in. It is the Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. Devin McCourty is going to join us coming up at 4 p.m. Eastern Time today. Stu, I haven't really thought about this until now, but I think it's a fair point. Now, I said earlier this week, I do think there's a gross overreaction from a lot of people in regards to Bill Belichick, the recruiter, because Bill is a football lifer. I think Bill is a football maniac. The work, to me, has never been the issue with Bill Belichick, and I think it's easy, low-hanging fruit, right, for people to make those jokes. Bill having to go talk to a 17 or an 18-year-old that's going to have all these demands, and he's going to look at him, basically give him a cold stare, look through his soul, rip out his heart, and be like, how dare you ever ask me for NIL money? I think Bill knows what he's getting himself into. Now, it doesn't mean that there aren't going to be some hiccups. It doesn't mean that there aren't going to be some speed bumps that he's going to have to cross over and make sure that it's smoother than what it can be. Like, I'm not naive here saying that it's just going to be a smooth, easy transition, and this is going to be the Bill Belichick that we saw in the early 2000s, right? Go from the NFL sideline to a college sideline. I'm cognizant of that. But it's amazing. And we have a lot of listeners that are really good college football fans, right? And I say this as a big-time college football fan in the Northeast. There's a lot of Northeast college football fans, I say it in air quote, that just parachute in on the big topics. And even some people that watch a lot of college football and talk a lot of college football, it's amazing how they're not able to understand that all we've done throughout this entire year is praise Deion Sanders, right, Coach Prime? As he's deserving of that praise. And people are like, oh, I can't imagine Bill doing an in-house visit, in-home visit with the recruit. Well, a guy like Coach Prime just took over a dreadful, and I mean a dreadful, insipid Colorado program that had no life, right? It was a pedestrian program for the last 2 decades. And Deion Sanders, I get it, has an A-plus personality, and he has A-plus connections. And, right, there are NIL money that will happen because of who Coach Prime is. Well, Bill Belichick doesn't have an A-plus personality, but Bill Belichick has the aura of being the greatest NFL head coach of all time. He's got 6 Lombardi trophies. You know now that there's going to be so many people, a plethora of people, that are going to want to go to the spring game, going to want to be on the sideline, that have big NFL ties, and there's going to be people that are going to be donating money because Bill's going to be asking for it. You know, 2 things that I read yesterday. Bill's on a 5-year deal. It was originally reported it was a 3-year deal. And also I read from one report that the NIL money last year for UNC was $4 million. They've already got a guarantee that's going to be $20 million. And I'm sure that number is just going to go up and up and up and up. And let me say this, Robert Kraft, by the way, I'm a big fan of Robert Kraft, right? How can I be? Him owning my football team, it's been success, success, success. But Robert Kraft at the end of Bill Belichick did him wrong. And I'm not saying moving on from him. I had no problem with the Patriots moving on from Bill Belichick. But with that just crappy Kraft production through Apple on the dynasty, that did not do a good job for Bill Belichick. Right? And then supposedly, and I believe this, Robert Kraft told Arthur Blank, you may not want to hire Bill Belichick. So for a guy that for 20 years was your coach, won you 6 Super Bowls, for you to treat him like that post-New England, I thought was a bad job by Robert Kraft. And Robert Kraft, who I know, he's annoyed that him and Bill never, they had a good relationship, but it was never one where, hey, you're going to get dinner. Hey, the owner is going to be getting everything told from him by the head coach. That's what made Bill be able to go win 6 championships. He never got too close to the players, never got too close to the owner, right? Bill was, it's all ball. It's all football. I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to win. So a guy like Robert Kraft should save some face here. And he should cut UNC a big fat check for the NIL. That's number one. And they should immediately induct Bill Belichick into the Patriots Hall of Fame. But going back to my Coach Prime point, 2 things. It's amazing with how many people cover college football, and some know what they're talking about and some don't know what they're talking about. Deion Sanders has talked about this because there's going to be a contingent of morons today that are just going to say, oh, well, Bill's not going to go on an in-house visit. Oh, Bill's not going to recruit. Well, let me just read you this. This is from USA Today from earlier this year. The University of Colorado confirmed Deion Sanders hasn't made any recruiting visits since his hiring. The parents, I love them, and I want to show them Boulder, he said. I want them to see this and how beautiful it is and why I'm so eager and how I love this city and this state and this team. I want them to see that because guess what? That's why the kids are going. The kids are coming here. Going there is just showcasing for me. That's just blowing money. It's blowing a bag. Don't make sense. I can't do things other coaches can do. You know why? I'm Coach Prime, and I didn't stutter when I said that. That's Bill Belichick too. Coach Prime has laid a foundation for a school like Colorado that for 20 years was an irrelevant football program, and give credit to the AD Rick George for saying, I want to hire Coach Prime. Because they could have hired some other numbnuts to go be like a young up-and-coming offensive coordinator, right? A young up-and-coming defensive coordinator that could be really good, or they could be really bad. Taking a risk on Deion Sanders, people are like, oh, it's high risk. I've always said it's low risk, high reward. And that's been 100% true. You know, if you're not Alabama, if you're not Georgia, if you're not Texas, right, Notre Dame, whatever these big brands are, that's different. But when you're UNC, when you're Colorado, and I'm talking football, when you're a Colorado football and you're UNC football, yeah, hiring Coach Prime was smart. And hiring for UNC, Bill Belichick is smart because, no, I don't expect Bill to be Mr. Rah-Rah personality guy, but Bill could do a lot of things that Coach Prime did at Colorado with his background, his connections in the NFL, that Coach Prime has done at Colorado. He could do that at UNC. So I think Coach Prime has kind of laid a foundation for schools that are in big-time conferences, but they're not big-time programs. Like the big-time conferences now, it was the Pac-12, but Big 12, SEC, ACC, and the Big Ten, right? Those are the four power conferences, Big Ten, SEC, ACC, and the Big 12. And schools like that, not everyone's Alabama, not everyone's Michigan, not everyone's Ohio State. They're huge brands there. But then there are huge brands that, there's big conferences that don't have huge programs. You know, you look at a school like UNC. You know, UNC's a brand, a big brand because of basketball, not football. Colorado, right? What have they done for 20 years? But those are schools with resources. Those are schools that have lost it all in terms of football, that they have nothing to lose. So you could get creative and not hire your stereotypical college coach. And it's worked for Colorado. And now we'll see if the greatest coach of all time in the NFL, Bill Belichick, can make a successful transition to college. But I think the Deion Sanders model has kind of paved the way for guys that have been very successful playing or guys that have been very successful coaching, right? With big brands, not big personalities, Bill doesn't have one, but big names, to go to a place that you would never think they would go and they could have success. So I think Coach Prime gets a lot of credit for it. It's not apples to apples necessarily, but what he's done at Colorado, I think, has made a few people say, I could go to a UNC. You know, I could go to a Duke. I know Georgia Tech's had a good season, but like schools like that are in that breath where they're in a good conference, but they're not the top dogs. They're not this big-time program. And I'm going to be curious in the next 3 to 4 years, from now until 4 years, because, right, it's a copycat sport all the time. How many of these jobs that have not had really good success for a while say, okay, I'm going to try to change my misfortune by doing something unconventional? Because hiring Coach Prime was unconventional, and sometimes to turn something around, you got to do something unconventional. Like, look at Dan Campbell with the Lions. Look how many coaches the Lions have hired. Dan Campbell walked in. He's like, I know none of you know who I am. We're going to bite off kneecaps, right? He was real emotional. Wears emotions on his sleeves. And a lot of people are like, who the heck is this guy? But it takes a certain individual like that, and a special individual, to turn a place that's been synonymous with losing around. And look how quickly Dan Campbell's done that with the Lions. Look how quickly Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, has done that at Colorado. And now Bill has that opportunity to do so at UNC. So I think for those, I don't want to say smaller schools, but for those medium football schools that are in big conferences, right? The best way to say it, they're a small fish in a large pond. If you want that small fish to be taken seriously, you got to take a risk like what Colorado has done with Coach Prime and what UNC is now doing with Bill Belichick. Take a time out. When we come on back, you hear from Bill Belichick. First time he addressed the media today as the new head football coach of UNC. We'll update you some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We'll do that with the news brief when we come on back. Devin McCourty is going to join us in about 30 minutes from now at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific time. But first up, standing by with the latest Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash, El Capitan, Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Zach, we're sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your family, your phone, and your furry friends with life, electronic device, and pet health insurance. A new day has dawned at North Carolina. Bill Belichick officially announced as the head coach on a 5-year deal, joining Bill Walsh as the only coaches to ever win a Super Bowl and then go to the college game.
Excited to be here, excited to be in college football, excited for the opportunity to build and develop young student athletes, young men, and prepare them for their life, either in the NFL or professionally. But the lessons they learn will be professional lessons. They'll be pros in all areas.
Now, for former Florida and Mississippi State head coach Dan Mullen reportedly to UNLV as their new head man on a 5-year deal. Mullen takes over for Barry Odom, who left to take the head job at Purdue. 49ers have faced more than their fair share of injuries. That's put us still within shouting distance of the NFC West at 6-7, 2 games behind the Seahawks. Welcoming the team that sits between them, the 7-6 Rams. LA, an enormous win over the Bills last week, trying to push their win streak to 3. Travis Hunter, a 2A star from Colorado, named your AP Player of the Year. Picked up 26 out of 43 first-place votes. Ashton Genty of Boise State, 16 first-place votes to finish second. I'm Marco Belletti.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Check out our new and improved website at infinitysportsnet.com. That's infinitysportsnet.com.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
All righty, this portion of the show is sponsored by the new 2025 Hyundai Tucson Hybrid that has class-leading advanced safety features like the available blind spot view monitor to make your ride more enjoyable. Let's hear from Mr. Mumbles. He was back in action today. Bill Belichick introduced as the new head football coach of the UNC Tar Heels. Bill Belichick. I got to hear this one. He's always had an eye on college football. I could imagine it sounds something like this. You know, my dad was a college coach, and some of my fondest memories as a kid were with my dad, around the college sideline, and I always had an appreciation for the great teachers in the college game. Let's hear how it sounded.
I've always wanted to coach in football, coach in college football, and it just never really worked out. Had some good years in the NFL, so that was okay. But this is really kind of a dream come true. I grew up in college football with my dad. As the coach at Navy for 50 years, so as a kid, all I knew was college football, and so it's great to come back home to Carolina.
So there you go. There is Bill Belichick. Let's hear a few more from the hoodie. Bill Belichick on his philosophy coaching college football.
I believe in attacking the defense, in defending what the offense does well, and that takes some versatility. All two teams aren't the same, and I think you have to play them differently from week to week. So that's what we'll do, and we'll use our personnel the best we can to do that. But we'll have a versatile and a system that will incorporate any good player. If we have a good player, I've never told Michael, hey, that's a good player, we can't use him. Give us a good player, and our scheme will find a way to work that player into the scheme.
So Belichick will play you one more. This was on his intentions on why he took the UNC job. I'm going to guess here. I think you go one of two ways, where he just blank stare at the reporter and goes, obviously it's to win a lot of football games. Or I could see him being kind of cheesy. Where all these college coaches, anytime they come on, they give their team slogan or they say beat a rival. It's like, could Belichick do, I'm here to beat Duke, and I'm also here to win a lot of football games. It's got to be one or the other. Let's listen up. Bill Belichick on his intentions.
I'm here to as Bubba said, teach, develop, and build the program in the way that I believe in.
All right, some pretty generic stuff from Bill Belichick. This is the only negative part about Bill Belichick returning to coaching. Well, it actually could be a good... Mike Lombardi's now out of the media, so that could be good. I'm not a big fan of Mike Lombardi. And I just think he's a pompous ass, if I'm being serious. But Mike Lombardi is now the GM of North Carolina football. So he was on VSiN. Mike Lombardi's on the show there for a while. Mike Lombardi and how the system in college is going to work under Bill Belichick.
We're going to build a pro personnel department, and that pro personnel department really will be the transfer portal. So that will be what we build there to monitor all the college teams, whether it's in the ACC, the Big Ten, the Southeast Conference, or in any conference, right? The new Pac-12. So you have to monitor all the players just like you would in pro football. And then obviously you'll have a director of college scouting, but that guy will be the director of high school scouting and monitor all the high schools. North Carolina has a great fan base. They have a tremendous recruiting area in the Tidewater area in Virginia. They haven't been into Florida as much in recent years, but there has been a time where they were very good in that state. So we're going to try to expand it to a national program, which it should be. I mean, when you mention North Carolina, that brand is significant.
Yeah, it's significant in basketball. Now let's see if it could be significant in football. Let's go to Andy Reid on Bill Belichick going to college, as courtesy of the Let's Go podcast.
I've said it before. He's the greatest, and whatever he chooses, he can go high school, wherever he wants to go. he deserves it right. Whatever makes him happy. I think the NFL, though, would be missing a great part if he decides he wants to come back. He might be enjoying this retirement. I mean, he's done this a long time.
No, now we know he's going to UNC. Is this mean it's over for Bill Belichick in the NFL? I would think so. He's going to be 73. I'm not saying he stays there all 5 years at UNC, but if he has 2 successful seasons, then he's 75. Does another team come calling? I guess it's possible. I don't know how likely, though, it is. It feels like this is the last chapter of the Bill Belichick coaching career, though, and it's one that we could have never even authored. If you wrote this script a year ago, no one would have believed it. Here is Mike Tomlin on the Pat McAfee Show on the Hoodie. Bill Belichick going to UNC.
I think it is awesome. I had a couple of sons that played college football. I would have sent my boys down there to play for them in a hurry. You know they're going to be instructed. You know that their football intellect is going to be developed, the skills relative to the positions that they play. Man, I think he's going to be great for that place and great for college football.
And let me tell you, that's a great point by Tomlin. And I talked to Channing Crowder yesterday, and he kind of echoed the same sentiment. A lot of people that have football backgrounds, whether they played in college, whether they played in the NFL, or coached in college or coached in the NFL, and if they have sons, if your goal is to go to the NFL, why wouldn't you want Bill Belichick coaching you in college? Won't be for everyone, but I think it'll be for a lot of people. Let's go to Cliff Kingsbury, now the offensive coordinator of the Washington Commanders. He's been an NFL head coach. He's been a college head coach. This is his thoughts on Bill Belichick going to UNC.
Bill Belichick going to North Carolina, you're one of the few people who's done both. So what do you kind of think of the idea of a guy at his status going to college in this day and age?
I will have to see him on the sideline to believe that's happening. We'll see how the NFL job search goes and all that. I will have to see him on the sideline coaching in Chapel Hill to believe that's happening.
The landscape has changed a ton even since you were there because of NIL. Could you imagine having to deal with that these days?
I got to just sit around and observe last year, and no, I don't see my man going to any home visits or doing like the cocktail hour after the visits. I just don't. Maybe he'll set it up like an NFL deal, but I have to see that to believe it.
Well, Cliff, maybe that's why you weren't as successful as what Bill's been. I think Bill will do whatever it takes to win, so I disagree. It won't be like a stereotypical college coach, but I don't think Bill's not going to do anything here. I think that's been a gross overreaction by a lot of people in terms of the recruiting and all that stuff. Let's go to A.J. Brown on Brandon Graham's comments about the lack of relationship and the way the relationship deteriorated, a lot of it being A.J. Brown's fault between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts.
BG was just being BG. He's emotional. In that case, he just misspoke. You know, me and Jalen are good. So it's BG, guys. So everybody loves BG. You know, he's speaking from the heart. You know, he's just giving his perception on something from the outside.
Doesn't mean it wasn't true. That's all I'll say. Here's Jalen Hurts and his relationship with A.J. Brown. What's going on there?
We're good. We're good.
Did you two talk after Brandon's comment?
We've spoken. I think in the end, Brandon, BG, we're calling him Brandon, BG knows he spoke out of place, and he knows that.
He may have spoke out of place, but it doesn't mean he was wrong. And I don't walk away from that Jalen Hurts clip now saying, our guy BG, you know, he said something that wasn't true. It wasn't very convincing. Yeah, we're good by Jalen Hurts. Here's the politician, Josh Williams, this knucklehead. He was the one that wants this Ohio State Sportsmanship Act, which would make it a felony for planting a flag on the Ohio Stadium by an opposing team. This courtesy of Rooster_Ohio on X. What a great Twitter handle. This was the confrontation.
This bill, a felony?
Yep.
What? You're gonna make? You're gonna make our beautiful state troopers arrest like Archie Manning at the 50-yard line on felony?
It's better than having our state troopers risk injury and have to expose players and fans to mace because there's a violent encounter at the center of our field because teams don't know how to appreciate a rivalry and sportsmanship. This bill is very simple. It's assigned to our institutions. They need to come up with policies that will prevent this in the future.
Yeah, well, the NCAA is going to ban it.
And to the individual athletic programs who clearly have not demonstrated that they learned from this when you have the coach simulating flag planting at a basketball game.
Oh,
that they
stop,
should be
you
teaching the
loser.
players
You
that
lost
this
the
is
game!
above what we need to have at our universities. Dude, I'm all for the rivalry. I'm born in the Toledo Strip. I just want to, maintain the integrity of our rivalry. We have the number one rivalry in the nation. This is bigger than Yankees versus Redskins anymore, or Red Sox anymore, and we need to preserve our institutions. Imagine if one of our players would have been substantially hurt because of a scuffle over a flag. Imagine if one of our officers would have been hurt. Right?
The NCAA is going to ban it.
This was a violent encounter at the center of our stadium.
I mean, violent. I mean, the violence.
You're watching players being thrown to the ground. You're watching fans rush the field and rip away the flag from players and coaches. Like, this is considered a violent encounter.
Let me tell this politician something. I went off on this yesterday. It's very simple. Ohio State lost. Tell those losers that lost the game to Michigan to walk off the field and be classy. If Michigan wants to plant a flag in the middle of the field because they won the game, they're allowed to do that. They are the winners. The losers go sing your little fight song at the end. You hug and you do everything in front of the alma maters, and then you take your loser ass off the field. You go into the locker room, and we don't need to see you. You shouldn't get so upset because another team celebrated a victory. Now, this politician, let me tell you, I don't know, next time he's speaking somewhere, I may want to go wherever he's speaking. I may just want to shout at him. Loser, loser, loser. Shame, shame, shame. Come on.
The Ohio Sportsmanship Act. Oh, this is going to be wonderful. You gotta respect the rivalry. You gotta know how to win. And you know how to lose.
Please. Enough. And Sharon Moore, God forbid Sharon Moore, when he's at a basketball game, does the flag planting symbol. Oh, the travesty. Oh, terrible. Sharon Moore, scumbag. Oh, Sharon Moore, terrible person. Oh, terrible message being sent. Oh, please. Ohio State lost. They're upset they lost. And the bitching and complaining we thought was bad the last 3 years. This is even worse. This takes the cake. Devin McCourty joins us next, coming on back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining.
Alrighty, rocking and rolling. It is Zach.
15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Alrighty, rocking and rolling. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. The big story of the day, Bill Belichick is going to coach college. That's right. The six-time Super Bowl winning head coach is now off to UNC with Chapel Hill. I guess they're calling it Chapel Bill, and someone that knows Bill Belichick very well is the Football Night in America analyst. You can see him each and every Sunday on Sunday Night Football on NBC. He's got the Lombardi trophies behind him because he played a big role in 3 of those 6 championships that Bill Belichick won in New England, and that, of course, is Devin McCourty. D-Mac, appreciate the time. Always great to have you on. How you been?
No problem, man. It's funny seeing you not at the Super Bowl. We always see each other in the Super Bowl city, so good to see you, man.
Yeah, it's great to see you as well. So how do you react to this? Just wondering. It was speculated for a week. Now we know it's official. Bill Belichick going to UNC.
I think I was like most of the guys that, used to play for him. You were kind of surprised. You've always seen him as, this NFL coach, this coach that coaches grown men, and he coaches grown men a certain way that I think requires you to either get to his standard or, as a lot of people know, the Patriot way of, hey, you either go and you do it this way or we get rid of you. We move on and we get the next guy. But I think ultimately, what this shows is that he's a football guy. He's a football coach, not just being around the game and talking about it, which he could do on TV, and he's done this past year. He wants to be a part of a program, an organization, whatever you want to call it, where each week he sees an opponent, he's thinking of ways to win, he can strategize. Like, that's what he loves the most. And I remember seeing him in September. He was at the Washington versus Rutgers game, and Steve Belichick is defensive coordinator at Washington, and he spent a ton of time in Washington, and we were kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum, rooting for Rutgers and him rooting for Washington. But he was dissecting and giving us what the guy should be doing in the game, how he's watched those guys and how they should be playing. You were talking to a football coach that missed coaching football. So surprised at his college, but ultimately I think he wanted to get back to coaching football, and not surprised that he's going back and doing that this year.
Now, I know the college game is now similar to the NFL game with NIL, but there still are differences. And right, we've seen a lot of guys go from college to the NFL or vice versa. Some succeed, most do not. I know it's Bill. I know he's a 6-time Super Bowl champion. And like you said, he just wants to get back to coaching ball. But how do you think that transition will be, going from being a lifer in the pros to now having to be a college guy in your 70s?
It'll be different. But I think the thing that sticks out is I think people should be aware that this past year, like, he's been traveling around a lot, right? When you think about being in different media appearances, then flying to Washington to be a part of that program. So you have one end where he's been very much a part of a college program, helping out coaching staff, his son, around the players. And then when you talk about recruiting and bringing guys in, he's also been traveling and doing those things. So that won't be new to him. The adjustment will be the day in and day out of, hey, coach, sorry, class ran late. Hey, coach, I got this test coming up. Like the part of the school part is what he's not used to. I think that will be somewhat of an adjustment. You're used to when you get those guys in your organization in the NFL, it's football is your life. He used to tell us, whatever you got left, open a drawer, put it in there and pull it out after the season, and then work on it or fix or whatever you need to do it after the season. We have 4 or 5 weeks left, and that's what he would tell us. But college, you can't do that. These kids have to be eligible. They have to do different things. You can't just say it's only football, and I think that will be one of his biggest adjustments.
What do you think Devin McCourty Bill will be like when he has to recruit and someone walks into his office, a high school kid, and he's trying to sell him on why he should elect to come to Chapel Hill?
I think that's going to be one of the easier things. I think when you think about free agency and all of those things, you have a salary cap and you're trying to maneuver and do different things. I think he's going to get more NIL money than people imagine. I think people are going to want to be in his orbit. I think he's going to be able to raise money by going to talk at corporations. Like, there's going to be so many different ways that he's not going to have to look at, well, if this guy's making this for this position, he's going to be like, okay, I got these group of guys with this slot or slush of NIL money that I have. So I think he's going to be able to maneuver that. And then he's going to walk in your living room, whether you're a guy in the portal, whether you're a guy coming out of high school, and he's going to tell you, hey, what position you play? All right, I've been around Tom Brady for 20 years. Oh, you play safety? Oh, I was around Rodney Harrison for X amount of years. Hey, I was around this guy for them. Like, oh, you play offensive line? Oh, let me tell you about Logan Mankins. Oh, you're a defensive tackle? Let me tell you about Richard Seymour and Vince Wilfork. Like, he's going to have so many
he's bringing up Lawrence
names.
Taylor, too. Come on,
LT
D-Mac.
will probably be back. Like, if you've ever heard LT talk about Coach Belichick, how much love he has for him, how much he's learned from him, those guys, like, just imagine what spring ball is going to be like in North Carolina, the amount of guys that are going to be trickulating through there, coming through, saying hi to coach, checking them out. I already texting guys like, hey, make sure you save me a spot. I want to come down, check out spring ball and get some free North Carolina Jordan gear. So I think that part of it, I think he'll be able to do. And I think the biggest thing in all of this, he has a plan. He hasn't just been sitting there this year not thinking about what he wants to do. He has a plan going forward. It's not a guarantee it's going to work, but if you're going to pick a guy with a plan and his success and his history, I would bet my money on Bill Belichick and him being able to go out there and be successful.
You know, I still think we're all trying to figure out what the recruiting part is going to look like. And I do feel like it's been a gross overreaction for many people because, Bill will do whatever it takes to win. So I'm not saying Bill is going to be on a plane every day and going into everyone's living room. But we all love what Coach Prime has done. Deion Sanders, he's never taken an in-home visit. You know, he makes people come to him. So I think the idea that the recruiting is going to be impossible for Bill Belichick, I kind of laugh at the overreaction in the last 24 to 48 hours with it.
I agree with you. And I look at Coach Prime, like Coach Prime's made a living in the portal because the portal is full of guys who they were somewhere and it didn't work out. And usually their ultimate goal is to get a shot at the pros. When you go down to Colorado, it's Warren Sapp. It's all former coaches in the NFL teaching you. That's what North Carolina is going to be like. It's going to be all former coaches, former NFL scouts, GMs. Like it's going to be all of those guys. And then who's going to be coming to their practices to watch? Their friends, head coaches of NFL teams. They love being around Coach Belichick. You don't think they're going to love to go there in the spring or love to go there for pro day? It's going to be the most NFL attention that the University of North Carolina has ever gotten in the history of North Carolina, probably. And I think that's going to be attractive. I saw there was a kid on the offensive line for North Carolina, entered the portal on Monday. Yesterday, he was like, hey, I changed my mind. I think I'm going to come back and play for Coach Belichick. And I think that there's going to be some of that again, but it doesn't guarantee success. Sure. And I think that's what they're going to have to learn. They're going to have to be patient. It's going to be new for so many different people. If you've held some type of position at North Carolina that has a position of power, it might change a little bit with Coach Belichick coming in there and the way he wants to do things. I think people are going to have to accept that and be ready for change.
So here's what I'm wondering. How much success could he have? Like, I'm not expecting North Carolina to win a national championship with Bill Belichick. I think they'll consistently be bowl eligible. They've been that the last few years. I'm looking at like 7 or 8 wins a season, and maybe there is a year where he could be going to an ACC championship game.
And that's what I look at it. I look at it now in the ACC. You've looked at Florida State had its year. You look at Clemson being kind of that team year in and year out that is usually the top dog. I think he zeroed in on how do I beat Dabo Swinney and Clemson? That will be the thing he preaches every single year. That's the standard. How do we get to that standard? And I think ultimately that's what I would imagine them competing for, a chance to be ACC champs, because then that gives you a chance to be what? It gives you a chance to be in the college playoffs, which I think for him, he's sitting there like, if you keep giving me a 1-game chance to game plan and scheme, I like my chances. And then I think even more for him, when I have that chance to game plan and scheme in these college playoffs, my kids will be on winter break. So now the most complex scheme I can put in will be this time because they're going to be having a break. We will be able to just do all football. We will be able to have NFL style days where we're in and we're all football. And my guys will buy into doing that. Why? Because I'm going to tell them we're going to compete for a national championship. And I think those are the messages he's going to try to put out there. And I think that's going to be the ultimate goal. And I think the next part of that is going to be the draft picks. How many guys do they get that end up being drafted, high draft picks? Because that's going to bring even better kids into the school.
Now, you know it and I know, right? We both love Bill Belichick. And we're all going to talk ourselves into this being a really cool thing that could happen at UNC. I'm going to be honest with you, Devin. I'm still annoyed. I'm annoyed that last year the Atlanta Falcons didn't hire him. I'm annoyed that no team told him the last few weeks, hey, Bill, we heard about UNC. Wait, we'll come get you. I think it's a massive mistake by some of these NFL teams, and that's why there's a lot of incompetent organizations around the league.
And look, I get it. Like, I look at a guy like Ben Johnson. You look at Aaron Glenn. Mike Vrabel is going to be out there again this year. There's some coaches out there that you look and you're like, they're probably going to get jobs this year. But there's not that many coaches out there that would knock Bill Belichick out. I mean, we talk on our show and talking to Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk about like the Chicago Bears. You have this young quarterback, Caleb Williams. You've continued to fail quarterbacks with different people you bring in. And he was like, they shouldn't get a new coach. They should go try to get a coach from another team. Call up San Francisco. Hey, do you want to part ways with Kyle Shanahan? Because that's the realization of the NFL. These new coaches get hired. It takes time to figure out how to be a good NFL head coach. But these teams don't give them time. Look at Gerard Mayo in New England. He's been there for not even a full season, and people are already like, this isn't working. What do you mean? Like, this team was bad the last few years. He got in, and already Antonio Pierce in Vegas, people are like, hey, they're probably moving on from him already. So to me, then you look and you're like, well, why would you not want to go after a guy who's been a head coach, who studied your team and already is going to have a plan at how you make that team better? Oh, yeah, and that's coming from 20 or 40 something years of coaching experience. So that to me is the weird thing. But you said it. There's a reason why a lot of teams continue to be bad year in, year out, because the people making the ultimate decision, they're worried about what they want to do selfishly, what makes them happy, not necessarily what might be best for the organization and those guys on the football field. And that's why we continue to see this cycle. But I think everyone around football thought that there was no doubt in 2025 Bill Belichick would be coaching in the NFL. It was just a matter of where.
Yeah, and it's crazy that it didn't end up happening, and now we know that he's going back to UNC, unless if in a few weeks from now he scribbles something down on a napkin, I resign as the HC of UNC, and then who knows, maybe he's going back to the Jaguars in a few weeks.
You know, and you never know. Is this a 5-year thing, a 2-year thing, a 1 year? Like, we don't know. Like, and I think he probably doesn't know. I think he has a plan. He wants to go coach, and I don't think he's going to make anything a final decision of where he's going to be. He's going to see how it goes.
So this is a 5-year contract. Now, just because a coach signs a 5-year contract doesn't mean he has to stay there for 5 years. We also got to see what the Steve Belichick dynamic is. There's a lot of speculation right now. So you're not going to rule this out, that this is the last that we've ever seen of Bill coaching in the NFL?
I wouldn't. I think this is going to be, listen, no matter how great his track record is in the NFL and really in life, people remember you for what you did last. And that's the thing. And his most recent time in New England hasn't been good. He goes to North Carolina and he starts killing it at North Carolina. There's going to be some owner that says, we missed it. Go get him now. We have a chance to be a Super Bowl champion now. Let's go get him. Whether that's a team coming off a bad record, or a team just feels like, hey, we've underachieved. Let's go get Bill Belichick. I think that could still happen in the future.
Let me ask you this, going around the league just real quickly. Devin McCourty does a great job now, Football Night in America. You'd also catch him on some Westwood One games throughout the season as well. The Eagles locker room. Last year, we know they had the talent, they had the record, they were 10-1, and it was a bad locker room, and that hurt them down the stretch. Now, even on a 9-game win streak, Brandon Graham, who's hurt, is talking about a relationship with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, how it's not there. And now A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts have had to respond to it all week. We heard how A.J. Brown handled it after the game with the short answers. Is that locker room still concerning to you, or do you think Nick Sirianni, who couldn't do it last year, could rally the troops together and not have history repeat itself?
It's hard, but I think the last part of what you said, it falls on Nick Sirianni. He has to make sure, and I think what they've done a good job this week is, we're good. We talked. We're good. Nothing's not. Handle it in-house. Whatever they need to do, that needs to be the message. And I think Sirianni needs to have a strong message when he comes in there and he starts talking to everybody of, I wouldn't be mad if he came in and said, hey, everybody, shut the hell up. We don't need to talk about this stuff. Let's talk about how we go and beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're going to play one of the best teams in the NFL right now, and we're talking about everything else that has nothing to do with winning. You don't think Mike Tomlin's going to be using this to fire up his team to get ready to go? And I think that's the strong message that needs to come from the top. So each time somebody else speaks about it, they feel like, damn, I'm going outside of what coach said. I'm being an outlier in this group. I think that's the message that needs to be sent. I don't know if that was sent last year. I don't know what ended up being the fallout of last year. But I think the stressful thing for the Eagles right now is you've already experienced last year. Why bring this on to yourselves this year? It doesn't mean their season's over, but I think as a player, I remember being in the locker room. It was annoying knowing you had to answer questions that you didn't care to talk about when you did want to talk about the game. You wanted to talk about Joey Porter Jr. in the matchup, and you want to talk about TJ Watt and Herbig and Highsmith and blocking, and like you want to talk about those things, but every other question's about that, and you understand it. So like that's the frustrating thing for them, but they could get past it. It's not something that I think is going to automatically derail them.
I also think an interesting thing, and right, you've been in a locker room before where you have a young draft pick, but then a veteran's really playing well or he's redeemed himself. You look at Sam Darnold, like in Minnesota. His contract's up at the end of the year. He's going to get a lot of money, whether it's from them or someone else. We'll have to wait and see. But they just took a top 10 pick on J.J. McCarthy. If you were in that locker room, and I know when Devin McCourty was playing, you don't talk about another grown man's money. I get it. But now you're in the media. Like, what would you kind of be feeling, truthfully, as a player? Would it be, hey, bring back Sam next year, or go to the youngster?
It's hard, but those guys know what J.J. McCarthy looked like. So sometimes you need to remind yourself of, hey, J.J. was going to be our guy. Like, we're good. Like, if we got to come back. Now, I think the hard thing is how far this season goes, right? If you end up in the NFC Championship, you end up somewhere like that. As a player, you kind of feel like, hey, run this thing back. Yeah. Like, we've gotten this far. Now, if you go and you lose in the wild card or divisional round, then I don't think it's as big of a deal. But again, I worry about the Vikings right now because it's a tough situation to be in. You got Sam Darnold, who's played his butt off, but you also remember that you were going to start J.J. McCarthy when the season started. Like, that he was going to be your guy, it seemed like. So you don't want to just forget about that and create a situation where you pay this guy all this money and you're going to have to pay him because there's going to be a market for Sam Darnold where other teams are going to want to pay him because he showed that he can be productive and help a team out. So I think if there's a chance to bring him back at a number you feel good about, yeah, you might want to see how that goes because especially you have an unproven guy who got hurt last year. Like, you don't know exactly how it's going to work out and your team is good enough to win. So, but I think ultimately if it gets too high, then you try to draft maybe or get another free agent quarterback to be a backup, and you ride out with J.J. McCarthy because that's why you drafted him. And we look at Bo Nix, we look at Jaden Daniels. Those teams made those decisions. You look at our guy in New England, Drake made those decisions. They're confident in those guys, and I think you have to do that.
Last thing I'll ask you, just getting back to Bill, because I know when Bill would undress you guys in film reviews, he would be like, oh, I could go get someone at Foxborough High to go, make these plays, McCourty. Now he actually gets to go to Foxborough High to get the talent. That's the best part.
He might want to cut that line out now.
Devin McCourty, Football Night in America, Westwood 1. We appreciate the time as always.
No problem, man. Good seeing you.
All clear. Thanks, D-Mac. Appreciate it, brother.
No, anytime, man.
Yeah, you got it. Be well.
You too, Zach.
All right, there he is, Devin McCourty, joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will take a break. When we come on back, there's something that D-Mac said there where it was in regards to, does this mean Belichick's done with the NFL? Well, Bill Belichick was asked that today. We'll get you that response when we return. Also, why Mike McCarthy is the happiest person that Bill Belichick got the UNC job. We'll talk about that on the other side. Coming on back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. So Bill Belichick has 333 career wins as an NFL head coach. Don Shula has the most wins of all time at 347. So Bill Belichick is 14 wins away from having that record. So when you take a look at that and you see, from tying that record, so you need 15 more wins to break it. It's one of those things where it's like, man, you're so close and now you're going to college and you're probably not going back to the NFL again. So now we look at who is the next guy in line and who is the dude that can reach that record if it's not Bill, and it's Andy Reid. So Andy Reid has 296 victories. 296 victories for Andy Reid. Now, Andy Reid is not a spring chicken, but with that being said, I don't think Andy Reid's going anywhere anytime soon because of the fact that Andy Reid has Patrick Mahomes. And it's kind of crazy when you look at the career of Andy Reid. Andy Reid's going to go down as one of the greatest coaches of all time. When Andy Reid was in Philadelphia, he was synonymous with winning a ton of games, but would always lose in the conference championship game, or the one year he punched through, he lost to Bill Belichick in the Super Bowl. And then even the early on part of his tenure at Kansas City, they were winning a ton of games. He had that terrible collapse up against Tennessee in the postseason, And another year they lost to New England again. There were some years where it wasn't pretty. And then they get Mahomes, and now they've won 3 Super Bowls since the 2019 season. So let's say if Andy Reid coaches 5 more years, right? I don't think that's crazy. Big Red is 66. So he's 51 wins away. So all Big Red has to do is average about 10 more victories a year, and he gets that record, like 10.2 victories per year, and he'll get that record. And look, even this year, look how god-awful it's been, right, for Kansas City, and I say that in jest, but how they've been vulnerable and they haven't been able to pull, a lot of these games looks like they're not going to pull it out, and they're still 12-1. So you look at this, let's say, so 12-1 right now, 14 weeks in, you got 4 weeks left of the regular season. Let's not even say that Andy Reid this year wins the Super Bowl. Like, let's go really low here. Let's say Andy Reid wins 2 more games in the regular season, and let's say he wins 2 games in the postseason. So even if he only gets 4 more victories this year, that puts him at 300 career victories. And then he's only 34 victories away, or no, it'd be more than that because Bill was 333. He's then 48 victories away. If he gets to 300 this year, which he should, and maybe more than that, he's then 48 victories away from breaking the record. So then if you do that, 48, let's say just divided by 5, it's 9.6 victories per year. So Andy Reid, as long as his health's in a good spot and he doesn't get bored with this, because, right, he has 3 Super Bowl championships. How many more are you looking to get? Is there a number? Andy Reid, I think he just signed a new contract, too. So it's one of those things where, yeah, he signed a new deal this offseason. $100 million over 5 years. So this could be his last deal, right? I think that's fair to say. So it's not crazy to look at this and see that Andy Reid's going to end up having the most wins of all time. And who would have thought that? We all know Reid was a really good coach, but now having 3 Super Bowls, that's going to significantly, and let's say, he's able to add on another 2? It's not a lock, but you would think definitely 1, that he gets 1 more if he coaches for 5 more years, 4 more years, 5 more years, he gets 1 more. Should. Andy Reid's going to go down as one of the greatest coaches of all time. And when he was in Philadelphia, he was a really good coach, but couldn't find a way to get the big one. Now in Kansas City, he's been able to get the big one 3 times. So the image of Andy Reid has changed in a big way. And there's a very good chance that Andy Reid could end up right now sitting at 296, in front of him, just in terms of all time. George Halas had 324 wins, Belichick at 333, and Don Shula is in at 347. But I'll tell you this, too. There's a lot of dominoes to fall from this Belichick decision. Mike McCarthy, I would say that he would be jumping up and down, but I don't know if that'd be good on the hammies for one Mike McCarthy. I'm going to say that Mike McCarthy is like a fat kid in a candy store today. Because all year long, Mike McCarthy has been viewed as a lame duck coach. It's only last year of his contract. And anytime his owner has an opportunity to talk about Bill Belichick, he talks about Bill Belichick in a glowing way. So I'll say this. Mike McCarthy, I think you're going to be back next year as the coach of the Cowboys. I do. Who else is going in there? Now, you could say, I want Ben Johnson. Well, Ben Johnson's not going to want you. He's all about alignment. The alignment in the Cowboys organization is, unless you're Bill Parcells, it's Jerry Jones' way, and you better conform to that, or it's the highway. Could Mike Vrabel show interest in the Cowboys? Yes, but I think Mike Vrabel could get a better job. Like, if you're Mike Vrabel, and I ask you, would you rather coach the Bears or the Cowboys, who would it be? Moving forward with the way those rosters are shaped, I'd rather coach the Bears. Now, I know the Cowboys are a bigger job, but it's not like the Bears are slim pickings here. I know the organization's incompetent, but they got some good, they got, the history, right? The Bear logo, all that stuff. And, they got some good young talent on that team. So if you're the Cowboys and you're not able to get Ben Johnson or you're not able to get Mike Vrabel, I think you're shooting for the stars, right? If those are your two guys that you want to get, you're going to really get rid of Mike McCarthy to bring in who? Cliff Kingsbury? Joe Brady? Aaron Glenn? I know McCarthy has not got you over the hump. He's had 3 12-win seasons. They lost in the wild card round, the divisional round, the wild card round. And then this year, everything got pulled out underneath them, A, because the owner didn't make this team better, who's also the GM, and also your quarterback got hurt. So I do think McCarthy's now going to be back. But the question becomes this. Is Belichick ever going to make a return to the NFL? Now, he's about to turn 73. This was Bill Belichick earlier today. Now, we thought yesterday it was reported as a 3-year deal. The UNC press release said it's a 5-year deal. So I personally am of the belief that this is the last stop for Bill Belichick. But could there be a case where a team calls him in a year or two and says, Bill, we want to drag you out of college and we want you to be an NFL head coach? I guess it's on the table. So Bill was asked today, could he leave UNC after a year or two? This is what Belichick had to say.
Bill, what do you say to people that fear that if you do succeed here, that you might leave for the NFL again in a year or two?
Yeah, I didn't come here to leave.
So how much you actually believe that or not, be my guess. Marco Belletti, let me get to you because I've sensed something from you the last few days. That this Belichick to UNC story, it agitates you in terms of you wanted to see Bill back on an NFL sideline. Is that fair?
I didn't want to see him end his career at North Carolina, yes.
Yeah, so you didn't want to see him end it in college?
At North Carolina, yes.
Oh, so if
part of it's North Carolina, yes.
Oh, so if he would have went to, like, let's say last year, Alabama, and it was, you'll be the guy to replace Nick Saban, you would be content with that.
It's a little bit better in the idea of I'm seeing if Bill Belichick can win a national championship. It's a little bit different. There's a goal here. This strikes me as I just want to coach. And that to me is sad.
I was the reason I'm laughing. It's not what you were saying when you were like, I don't want to see him in North Carolina. I was like, I didn't know Marco Belletti was a big Duke guy.
Yeah, no,
when you first said that.
Again, it's not that. It's just the idea that North Carolina, what's the bar? Make the ACC championship.
Yeah.
I don't want to personally. I like Belichick. I don't want to see Belichick and the last images in my head. Now we're going to forget in 10 years of getting his ass kicked by Dabo Swinney and the handshake. I don't need to see that. I don't need to see him facing SMU and getting his ass handed to him. I personally don't want to see that. And that to me is the bar for Belichick in North Carolina, and that's not good enough for me. Mm-hmm. That's not good enough for what Belichick has built over his career. I don't want to see him go out with, hey, he had a great year, he went 8-4. To me, that's not what this is about.
So let me ask you this, just because you've been around for a long time. How old are you?
46.
So you're 46. You've seen a lot of things.
A few.
You've seen more things than I have. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I have an old soul, though. And I'll say this. To me, was it always like this? And what I mean by that, I feel like now in society, every game, we like live and die in terms of what a legacy is. And then, like you said, like if Belichick loses to SMU, you don't want to see that. And there will be, I'm not saying that you meant it this way, but there will be people that'll be like, oh, the great Bill Belichick can't even beat SMU. You know, was it like that 30 years ago?
Not necessarily. But again, we're looking at it a little different. It's not the legacy aspect. In 10 years, when you talk about Bill Belichick and he's done with coaching and he's doing the whole thing, whatever it is, we won't even remember. Do you remember Bill Walsh at Stanford? Like, I vaguely do, but like we don't talk about it. We don't care. It happened, but like it wasn't a big deal. That's not, to me, that's legacy. That I don't care about. I physically now, current in the day, don't want to see it. I don't want to see North Carolina's bar with Belichick being a loss to Clemson. I have no stomach for this. That's my point. I feel like it's beneath him and what he has built and what his career has been. This guy has done everything right. He's been to the mountaintop in different places. He is a coach's coach. Is he a curmudgeon? Is he a pain in it? Like he is what he is. Those are the things are side. He's been to the pinnacle. He's been to the absolute top that you can be. I wanted to see him go out and trying to do it again for another franchise in the NFL. Yeah. Minus that, fighting for a national championship, not relevancy. And that's what this is. And to me, it's coaching to coach. If that's the case, go to high school. Like I don't need to see this. I don't need to see it end this way.
You'd rather see him in high school?
No, I don't want to see that either. But I think I'd rather that. It's sad. It's sad because I feel like this is a guy that doesn't know what else to do with himself other than the X's and O's. And a big part of me finds that sad that he can't enjoy what he has built over 50 years of a coaching career that is second to none. And that's unfortunate in my mind.
Okay. No, I was just curious because I've sensed this from you for the last few days that this topic in particular has just
there's not a lot of things because beneath people is difficult for me to even swallow from the start. But for a guy like this and for what we're talking about in coaching,
it's bizarre.
It is. It's beneath him. It is. It's a step. It's not a step down.
Mm-hmm.
It's a jump off a bridge.
Well, so I'll put the blame then on some of these owners. I think there's a lot of owners. Because of, like you said, he's a curmudgeon. He's rough around the edges. I love Robert Kraft. Robert Kraft didn't do him any favors. And I think that there's a lot of owners, like a guy like Arthur Blank, for example. He let the people in his building say, don't hire him when Arthur Blank wanted to hire him because they were afraid that they were going to lose their jobs. Like, a guy like Terry Fontenot or Richie McKay, they're like, oh, Bill's going to come here. He's going to say all these nice things for a year, and then we're all going to be out of a job. So I can understand why those guys would do that, but it doesn't mean the owner has to listen. And how none of these owners in the last 7 days, 8 days, texted Bill, called Bill, said, hey, Bill, pass UNC. We'll be here waiting for you in a few weeks. To me, none of these owners that had jobs that were going to be open had the stones to hire a coach that won 6 Super Bowls because he may hurt your feelings.
See, I got to say this, and this is where this is not double-sided. If I was an owner, I would go anywhere near Belichick. And it has nothing to do.
You are confusing today.
Look, I know he had no avenue and he had no aspect because he wants full control and he's 72. Those are the two things that I have a hard time with. You're 72, you want full control, and after 3 years, you're gone. I can't do that. That sets my franchise back. You're not going to be able to win in a year or two to get my roster, to get everything, to get to a Super Bowl, and you'll be gone. You're not going to be able to see this thing to fruition. Even if your vision is right, which I would struggle with, but I would listen to you. If you're 60, I know you've got a long enough rope that you can go down this road and get to fruition and see if it winds up being. I'd roll the dice. 72, it's not long enough.
So I understand that. With that being said, I look at a team like Jacksonville. They've tried everything. They have tried college coaches. They have tried NFL coaches. They have tried coordinators. And I understand, right? They've been in a few championship games, stuff like that. But a team like Jacksonville, you've just went through Urban Meyer, right? Creme de la creme college. Didn't even last a full season.
Right.
You brought in Doug Peterson, who brought the Eagles their first ever Super Bowl, made the playoffs 1 year, second year didn't work, third year didn't work.
Right.
A place like that, let's be real. The Jaguars don't really have an identity. The Jaguars aren't one of these gold standard operations in the NFL. We make fun of them. Oh, they go play a bunch of their games in London. If you're a team like that, where supposedly the Khan family has a good relationship with Belichick,
right?
Why not call Bill and say, hey, don't take UNC. I'm going to hire you in Jacksonville.
For me?
Yeah.
Because I want to actually build a franchise and not be a laughing stock and give Trevor Lawrence an opportunity that I gave him all this money to actually be a guy that's going to be a franchise quarterback and get to fruition and not give him another coach that's going to be gone in 2 years or 3 years, even if it's good because he's 75. If you want to do it right, that would be great. If you want to do, to be fair, bad ownership and a Band-Aid. And that's not what I would try to do. And it seems like Jacksonville's not trying to do that. Find the solution. Stop looking at trying to, stop a hemorrhage with a Band-Aid. And that's what Jacksonville is right now. And you've got an opportunity to truly get over the top because not only do you have a top pick, you've already got a quarterback that you like. Now, we can argue whether or not you want to have Trevor Lawrence at the driver's seat, but he's got the contract. So to me, I can't do a Band-Aid and Bill Belichick. It's the worst thing for my franchise.
Okay, what about Dallas? Because the owner's cuckoo. The owner, he wants to make the decisions. Now, he has stepped out of the way before for a guy like Parcells, so maybe Belichick. Let's be real. Jerry Jones isn't a spring chicken. So, I don't know.
Oh, I could see Jones making the call. Yeah. I don't see Belichick going there.
Oh, okay, then that's fair. Because I was going to say, like the Cowboys would have been one where if your concern is Belichick's age, I don't know how many more, like Jerry Jones, he may do this until he dies, but how much is he actually there? Then that could have been a lined up.
Because it's twofold.
Yeah.
It's not just age, it's control. And Jerry's not going to give him control. So I don't think Belichick would want to even do that.
Though.
Did he? He said he did.
For a little bit.
Parcells said he kind of did. And Parcells walked away from a hell of a roster after a couple years, said, I'm burnt, I'm done.
Yeah.
The year after they were 13-3. That was really Wade Phillips' team. That was Parcells' team. And he handed him Tony Romo, found him on the street when nobody knew who the hell he was. So let's not be, again, go back. Was Parcells really, truly burnt out at that point in 2006 after they lost in the Romo, field goal where he dropped the snap, or was Parcells tired of Jerry Jones?
He was tired of Jerry Jones.
So Belichick, you tell me he didn't call Bill? He didn't call Nick Saban to find out the college game?
But for 3 years, for 2-3 years, you go get the record and then okay?
I don't think it's the record. I think that's part of it. I don't think it's the record. I think in his mind, if you're going to give me his ego and his pride, it's not the record. It's a Super Bowl without Brady. That's what he wanted.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if there's a job out there.
Then again, if I'm not going to have total control, if I'm not going to be, I'm walking in the building as Bill Belichick. You're not going to give me total control because you don't believe in my vision.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to swallow my pride, the only way I'm doing this is to get that Super Bowl. So there's no avenue.
And that's just what I'm saying is, for a lot of these organizations, even though I think Bill at the end needed a GM because there were some bad decisions made in New England, for a good amount of these organizations that can't tell the difference between their elbow and their ass, and they're hiring a new coach anyway in 3 years, I would have bit the bullet and said, Bill, let's see what you could do for 3 years. Here's the key to the, I wouldn't even say Ferrari for some of these teams. Here's the key to some average car. Let's see what you do with it.
Like I said, I only saw one landing spot in the NFL, and that was the only way they were going to go down that road is if the Giants got rid of Shane and Dable.
And they're nowhere close.
And they're not doing it. Well, no, they're not close enough. But
to win a Super Bowl, if that's what it is, they're nowhere close.
But John Mara would have loved to have Belichick bookend, and I'm telling you, Belichick would have took that job for free. Because he wanted to end his career with the Giants. It just didn't line up. Now, if they were firing Dable and Shane, we're not having this conversation. Because Bill's sitting there waiting for it, and Mara would have called him. And my guess is, without knowing, I'm pretty sure Bill gave a phone call to Mara and said, what are we doing?
Hello.
And I'm pretty sure John Mara let him know right now. It could change. We still got 4 more games to go and see if they really, truly embarrass themselves. But right now, today, you're asking me, in December, no, I'm not looking to fire them. You could call me again in January, and maybe we have a different conversation. I think Belichick was looking at it and going, I'm not waiting around. Because then if that's the case, then I don't coach this year, and I'm not waiting 2 years without coaching.
All right, he's El Capitan. Marco Belletti will come on back. We'll talk a little bit about Dan Mullen and Rich Rod and their coaching futures and the jobs that they've taken. But first up, here's Marco.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
Now, Zach, a 6-time Super Bowl winner, looking to take that championship pedigree to North Carolina, where they haven't won an ACC title since 1980. Bill Belichick officially introduced his head coach, asked how he'll define success at Chapel Hill.
Well, success is, it's a day-by-day process, and the only thing we can really do anything about is, today, tomorrow, what's immediately in front of us. So take advantage of every opportunity we have to build the team, improve the team, get better, and keep stringing a lot of good days together, and the results will come.
Now, for UNLV reportedly going with Dan Mullen as the new head coach, takes over for Barry Odom, who left after 2 seasons, 19-8. He's taken over at Purdue. Meanwhile, a huge one in fight for the NFC West as the 49ers host the Rams tonight. San Francisco trying to get back to 500, creep a little closer to first place in the Seahawks, who sit at 8-5. Rams also come in off a huge win over the Bills. They're 7-6. Kickoff 8:20 Eastern. Elsewhere, Colorado's Travis Hunter named AP Player of the Year. Two-way standout, 26 out of the 43 first-place votes. He edged out Boise State's Ashton Genty, who got 16 votes, both finalists for the Heisman. That's handed out on Saturday. And Boise State quarterback Malachi Nelson, the former #1 prospect, the class of 2023, entering the transfer portal for the 2nd straight year, leaving Boise State now. I'm Marco Belletti.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network. That's it. Play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, this portion of the show is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. You know, I think a lot of people believe that Travis Hunter's going to win the Heisman. With that being said, I keep on hearing more and more people talk about it. And I agree with RG3, who was on with Jim Rome earlier today. I think this could be a lot closer than what some people think. And I heard Brian Jones earlier today. I heard Randy Cross earlier today. Both say they think Ashton Genty should win the Heisman. I think the narrative on Twitter, the majority of Twitter is Travis Hunter, Travis Hunter, Travis Hunter. Sometimes Twitter is not a true reflection of society. So I look at this as either Hunter or Genty will be one or two. That's not debatable. But you look at the finalists, it was also Cam Ward and Dylan Gabriel. I think for most voters, it was, how do I vote between Genty and Hunter, 1, 2? And then when it comes to the third spot, which quarterback are we going to go with? Whether it was Shador, who wasn't a finalist, whether it was Cam Ward, or whether it was Dillon Gabriel. That's what I think a lot of voters at least thought. And you look at it, Dillon Gabriel's not going to win. Cam Ward's not going to win. So your two guys that I think can win are Hunter and Genty. Genty's in the college football playoff. Genty won a conference championship. Genty has been the most consistent player throughout the entire season in college football. But some people will say, I'm not going to give a running back from Boise State the Heisman Trophy. Some voters will say that. And then you look at Travis Hunter, it's the stardom, two-way ability, over 1,100-yard receiver, double-digit touchdowns, 4 or 5 interceptions, and Coach Prime's his coach at Colorado. Where, this is the year where Colorado's not a big brand, but it's a bigger brand than Boise State, so that's why he may win it. So I think that's what is a lot of the debate. I can't say who I voted for until the award is announced, so I could share that coming up on Sunday morning or late Saturday night. If I will do it. But I think for a lot of voters, that's kind of how the conversations were. And the more and more I hear people that I know have votes, like Brian Jones has a vote. He said that he thinks Genty should win. So why can I say who I think I should vote for? But I play by the rules. All right, I'll play by the rules here. So I keep on hearing more and more people that I know have votes say Genty. So I think it's going to be a lot closer than what people think. Rich Rod's going back to West Virginia. Who says you can't go home? I think this is a move in the NIL era. It's going to excite the fan base. It's going to excite the alumni. Like, you kind of look at Scott Frost going back to UCF. That excites the alumni, excites the fan base. We'll get more donations. And I have no problem with West Virginia. Maybe you want to say you want to go a little younger, but I have no problem West Virginia going with Rich Rod. Dan Mullen to UNLV caught me by surprise because I like Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen comes on the show. I hate that he's going to UNLV. Nothing against UNLV. I like when he comes to the show as a college football analyst. And Dan Mullen, right, coach Florida, coach Mississippi State, he's been someone that anytime he comes on and we ask about this, he goes, the fit has to be a right alignment. I'm very happy with what I do. And for whatever the reasons were, UNLV was the right job for him. When I saw that news yesterday that Dan Mullen's closing in on a deal for UNLV, I don't know, congratulations to him. It's a solid hire. It's a good hire, right? UNLV getting Dan Mullen, it's a good hire. But I never would have thought that Dan Mullen was going to take... If you would have told me 2 weeks ago when we talked to him, or a week ago we talked to him, that Dan Mullen was going to be the next coach of UNLV, I would have been like, huh? Based off what he said last time he was on the show with us, really wouldn't equal Dan Mullen to UNLV, but congratulations to him.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Hour number 3 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Coming up in a few moments, I'll get to my top 5 coaches who I would love to see coach in college next year. I will do that. So top 5 NFL coaches that I'd love to see coach in college next year. I saw a story during the break, and it's going to trigger me to bring up another story as well. They have nothing to do with one another. But sometimes, like, you see something that isn't in the sports world and everyone's talking about it, but for some reason now in like sports talk radio, we're like in this bubble in the last few years where it's like, okay, only talk about sports and things like that. But sometimes when something happens that everyone's talking about, I personally think it's okay to talk about it. But for whatever reason, I didn't bring this up. But I'll get to that in just a second. The story that I just read, so Morgan Wallen a few years ago had this incident where he was throwing a chair off of a roof of a Nashville bar. You know, I think it was actually this year. I remember seeing it. So it wasn't a couple years ago. Well, he has now been sentenced to 7 days in jail and 2 years probation after pleading guilty to the chair throwing situation. So that's Morgan Wallen is the story that's out there right now. So this is how my brain works. I have no clue why the Morgan Wallen story makes me then want to bring up the United Healthcare situation where, unfortunately, right, we all saw the video of the CEO getting assassinated, and they finally found Luigi Mangione, who was the guy who did it and was on the run. When I read and I heard that they got him, I was never expecting that they were going to find him in a McDonald's. And this is not the most serious part of it, but my reaction to this, and the whole thing is terrible. And I understand, right, you could be annoyed with United Healthcare, and you thought it was unfair that you got denied, and I understand, and if that impacted your life, you know, I have great sympathy for you. But the idea that you have knuckleheads online that are advocate or that are supporting this assassination, like, what society do we live in now? Where you think it's okay just because you don't like the way that someone runs their company, that it's all right for someone to go take a gun and shoot him. You know, it's crazy to me. So, you know, obviously, Brian Thompson and his family are in our thoughts and prayers. But not to, like, make a joke out of this. This is a serious statement. The guy that did this, Luigi, and I have gone down this kind of road, this rabbit hole now, where you click on the story and then your phone for the next 3 days, all they give you is stories about this guy. And, you know, it's valedictorian, seemed like he had everything together. And I guess he suffered some back injury. So, you know, I just think about this, and I don't know if this is correct or not. All right, let me be abundantly clear on that. This is just an assumption. You know, and supposedly he comes from a very wealthy family, but he hasn't talked to them in a while. So I guess whatever back injury he suffered kind of sent him obviously down the wrong path of life and the wrong down the wrong road of life. But maybe that's why he had such resentment for United Healthcare, because of the back injury. Maybe he didn't get coverage or something. I don't know. But still, anyone that's advocating or supporting what he did, you're nuts. You are nuts. And there's someone that I know, I won't say who I'm friends with on Facebook. I know this person very well. Made this whole post how what happened was okay. I'm like, huh? Now, I didn't comment on it. I kind of bit my tongue. But I go, like, what animals are in society? Seriously. And there's such vitriol in society that a guy who, right, is a husband and a father gets gunned down in the middle of New York City early in the morning. And now you have people that are like, oh, that's right, because you're upset with United Healthcare? That's something I can't wrap my head around. But what I was about to say as well, he was found, Luigi, in a McDonald's. If you're on the run, and I've never been in that situation, but if you're on the run and you're trying to not get found, everyone's got to eat, right? So I'm not saying going to McDonald's was stupid, but you don't go through a drive-thru. You don't quickly place the order, then like you sit down, right, with the gun and with whatever manifesto that he had, and you just sit down and you act like, oh, I'm having a normal meal. That's crazy. Either you go through the drive-thru, right, if you're a criminal or a guy that's, now a criminal on the run, and you get your drive-thru food and then you go, your Big Mac, whatever, or you walk in, right, in a disguise. Hey, I'd like to place a number 6 order, a large fry, a large soda, all that, supersize it, whatever, and then you pick your food and you get out. Like, how stupid is this guy? And he's a valedictorian. I can't even spell valedictorian. All right, let alone be one. But how do you just sit down at McDonald's and put it this way? You could be living under a rock and you would know about this story. Like, everyone was talking about this story. And how this guy just thought he could go to a McDonald's and every little thing was going to be all right is crazy to me. Absolutely crazy to me. So I was waiting to see when we were going to bring up this story. And there were like moments like in the last week where, oh, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. Don't do that. You don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But I knew eventually see, this is I think my biggest flaw, but also my biggest strength. Once there's something, and I'm not saying we were told not to talk about it, but once there's like a topic where people are like, I don't know if you want to talk about that one. I don't know if you want to touch that one. Even if I prevent myself from talking about it for like 2-3 days, I will eventually, something so minor will make me talk about it. And I don't know why. And this is just my weird brain, and this is why you listen, and this is why you just accept me for who I am. When I saw the Morgan Wallen story, I'm like, oh, that's a non-sports story. What other non-sports stories have I been thinking about? Oh, what happened with United Healthcare. And then I end up bringing that up. Because the United Healthcare, it's still on my timeline every day. The algorithms on my timeline now are very weird. Very weird. So it's all like holiday clothes, right? Like you want to get holiday gifts. It is, I've been going recently. I've had a little bit of a neck and shoulder problem. So it's this neck and shoulder massager. And then there's one lady who has been going viral. And I'm just looking at Stu and I'm looking at Botcher right now to see if they know what. Botcher, you know what I'm talking about? The one lady that like slept with
the documentary.
Oh, that's a documentary?
Yes.
Yes.
Wait, there's I know that obviously they're recording something with how many guys she was sleeping with, but that's a documentary?
It's a YouTube one, so it's not a real one.
Oh, okay. On the girl, she slept with what, like 100 dudes in a day?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's been my timeline. And then whatever is happening with Trump and Elon Musk too. Like anything Donald Trump or Elon Musk. That has just been what's on my Twitter feed. And then some of Bill Belichick. So that has been the Twitter feed of one Zach Gelb. All righty. I think that was a great 9 minutes of radio, if I just may say so myself. Here's what also makes me a good radio host. Some will be like, oh, talking about the girl with making a questionable decision. How about 5 NFL teams that their current coach could be making a questionable decision to go to college? No, I'm not going to do that. Let's just transition here. So the topic we were supposed to talk about, 5 NFL coaches that are actively coaching that I would love to see coaching college football in 2025. And this is based off of, obviously, Mr. Mumbles, Bill Belichick, after being out of the NFL for a year, resurfacing as the next head football coach at UNC. Here's my list. And I think number 1, people are going to be like, that's a lame answer. It's already happened. Did you mean John? Did you? So, I'll go 1 through 5. 1, Jim Harbaugh. I love that Jim's in the NFL. Jim, the only thing that he has left to do on his resume is win a Super Bowl. And I'm happy that he landed with the Chargers because Justin Herbert gets a professional coach. But yeah, if you tell me that Jim Harbaugh could be back in the college game, I think that would be awesome because college football is looking for a face. It was going to be Jim Harbaugh, and then the NCAA decided to be a bunch of jabronis, a bunch of losers. And they basically forced Jim Harbaugh out of the sport. So Jim Harbaugh. Number 2, it would suck for Detroit if this guy left. And I thought for a while Dan Campbell was better off in college and he could win a Super Bowl this year with the Detroit Lions. But man, how awesome would Dan Campbell be at a big-time college football program? Because that dude is all heart, he is all emotion, and he's all excitement. And at number 3, he got very annoyed a few years ago. I think it was when the USC job opened up, where there was a reporter that asked him if he would be interested in USC, and Mike Tomlin was as upset as I've ever seen Mike Tomlin be upset at a podium. He's like, do you ask Andy Reid that question? Right? You remember when that happened? But Mike Tomlin coaching in college, you talk about a culture and a program builder, that's Mike Tomlin. 4, DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans' energy is infectious. Look at what he's done in an organization that was a joke. The Houston Texans, we would talk about creepy Jack Easterby. We would talk about everything that went wrong with Deshaun Watson, the McNair family. Like, there was a lot there. And a lot of ugliness and just this big circus in Houston. And I know it helps when you get C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson, but D'Amico Ryan's going back to the Texans, totally just changed that franchise around. But if you tell me D'Amico Ryan's in, like, the SEC, that guy couldn't go win 9-10 games and go win an SEC championship game, come on. I definitely think he could. And then in number 5, I think this guy could probably only coach in the SEC. He has SEC feel to me. And I could see him just actually being a great college coach because he basically sometimes reminds me of like a frat kid. And that's Nick Sirianni. Like, you imagine if I tell you Nick Sirianni's at Ole Miss. I know we all love Lane Kiffin. Can you see Nick Sirianni at Ole Miss? Name any SEC school. Auburn, I could see Nick Sirianni there. Missouri, I could see Nick Sirianni there. There is not an SEC school that you can mention where I'm like, even if for some reason Kirby Smart said, I want to go to the NFL. Nick Sirianni at Georgia? Absolutely. Sirianni, to me, he looks like a college coach. So those are my top 5 coaches, NFL coaches that are active that I would love to go see coach college next year. Obviously, none of them are going to go do it. But Jim Harbaugh, who has won a national championship in college, Dan Campbell, Mike Tomlin, D'Amico Ryans, and Nick Sirianni. Stu, got any out of this conversation?
Yeah, I have a couple. My first one would be Sean McVay. I would like to see his personality, his fast talking, him trying to recruit players.
I think people would be blown away by Sean McVay. I could see that.
Yeah. I think he'd be a good fit. And I think Kevin O'Connell, I like what he's done with the Vikings in the short amount of time and what he's been able to kind of done with, Sam Darnold, who may or may not be a good quarterback. We don't know for sure, but I would like to see what he would be able to do.
KOC is a very player-friendly coach, and obviously his players love him. I still don't know what his personality is. Like McVay, I could see, college guy. Like, I could see him being a college coach if he ever wanted to. O'Connell's an excellent coach, though. Really an excellent coach. I just, there's a certain personality you have to have as a college coach. I'm not saying he can't do it, but I just don't feel like we know enough about his personality. Anyone else you got on that list?
That was about it.
Oh.
Yeah.
No Andy Reid? You want to see
Reid would be,
Big Red?
actually, you know what? Reid would be interesting.
He would be the Don, I could see him being like the Don of college football. Just his recruiting visits would be cheeseburgers. That's what it would be. Go get a cheeseburger with Coach Andy Reid. Who's the current NFL coach that you'd love to see coach college? 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. We'll take a break. Why I want to see the Rams beat the 49ers tonight. I'll get into that when we come on back in 5 minutes. But first, football season is in full swing, and you can take full advantage by winning some cash with Sleeper Picks. Sleeper Picks is a fantasy game, but you can win real money. Just pick more or less in at least 2 of your favorite player stats. If you're right, you could win. You can pick up to 8 players to win up to 100 times your money. For a limited time, Sleeper has a special offer. New users have to play $5, and they'll receive $55 in free bonus entries. That's right. If you deposit $25 and play $5, they'll give you 11 $5 bonus entries to start playing. So download Sleeper today. Download the Sleeper app now and use promo code SCORE and get it on this promo before time runs out. What are you waiting for? Download Sleeper today and unlock one of the fastest growing fantasy sports apps in the world. Use code SCORE to claim the play $5, get $55 bonus entry offer. That's code SCORE. Must be at least 18 years old in most states and present in state where it is legal to wager. Promo code location, other restrictions apply. Minimum deposit $25. See terms of use for details at sleeper.com. Please play responsibly. Call 1-426-2537 for help. Sponsored by Sleeper, a Blitz product.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Sometimes there's things that happen behind the scenes that are very funny. And sometimes we tell them on the air, and sometimes we don't. Ryan Botcher is one of my favorite people around here, I'll tell you that, though. So Ryan, Santer's in Florida on vacation. Stu's coming with me to Army-Navy Radio Row. And I go to Botcher. I just simply say, hey, you know, you all good to run the show back here tomorrow? He's like, I guess I'm as ready as I'll ever be. And I go, just make sure you get home in one piece. You know, I may have said something else that I'm not going to say on the air. But if Botcher calls out sick tomorrow or something, God forbid, happens to Ryan Botcher in the next 24 hours, we're screwed. We are screwed here. Because we need someone to run the YouTube stream tomorrow. Like, someone else could come in here and do the radio portion of the show. So, like, if Botcher, I don't know, stubbed his toe and couldn't come into work tomorrow, there is someone that could run the radio portion of the show. But when we're on location, and the stream's always important to us, but when we're on location, you want to see where we are. So you could always tune in via our YouTube page on the Infinity Sports Network. So Botcher just cracks me up. He does. Yeah, you're a funny guy, Botcher. Have people told you that before?
No.
I think you could do stand-up comedy. I really do.
No shot.
Why not?
I have zero creativity.
What do you mean you have zero creativity? You're unintentionally funny.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I think you could go up there and you could just give like cringeworthy humor, where you would just be talking normally and people be like, I can't tell
That's
if this.
backhanded.
No, I'm serious. Where it's like, I feel like you would have that ability to be one of those comedians where people would be like, I don't know if he's just being regular or if he's just being intentionally funny.
Yes.
Yeah, like Vinny Guadagnino from the Jersey Shore. He is doing,
Vinny, yeah.
He's doing stand-up comedy. He lives in the area, by the way. I used to see him walking his dog around here all the time. We ran into one another in the pharmacy that used to be downstairs. But he does stand-up comedy. And when I saw him do his stand-up comedy act, it was on the show Family Vacation, Jersey Shore. How am I going to watch that tonight? I don't usually watch it on Thursday. I usually watch it on Friday
MTV
during my
app.
workout. No, there's no more MTV app.
What?
Yeah, they got rid of their app. They got rid of the app. There's not, at least that's the way I've had to do Amazon. It's weird. I have a Verizon account. I pay for Verizon. When I go to try to get the archive of it after the episode airs, because I usually watch a Thursday night football game, right, in season, I then can't get it that way. So I've been having to pay for every episode for the entire season. It was like $25 for the entire season on Amazon Prime Video. So that's how I've been able to consume Jersey Shore. So anyway, though, one of the scenes on Jersey Shore was him doing stand-up comedy. I'm like, he's so funny, but I can't tell if that's just him being regular or if that's in him intentionally being funny. So that's why I kind of think you'd be as a comedian. Anyway, I got into, I wouldn't say a heated argument, because I like this guy too much to get into a heated argument with him. And I also don't know if he's just like joking or if he's serious when he says these things. But I was on a radio show yesterday, WQAM, 560 WQAM. I go on all the time with once a week with Mark Hochman, Channing Crowder, and Alejandro Solana. And Hawk is like I don't want to call him a shock jock, but he's a guy that does like old school radio, right? He has personality. That's how you should do radio. You're funny. And he never takes himself too seriously. A lot of people around today take themselves too seriously. Hawk doesn't do so. But I don't ever know if he actually cares about the sports opinions. Like, so he's getting into me with me the other day on how he's annoyed how I talk about Tua Tagovailoa. And I just said, I think Tua's a good quarterback. You think Tua's a great quarterback? He goes, yeah, I think Tua's elite. I think Tua's a top 5 quarterback. I'm like, no, he's not. And I was throwing out quarterbacks. So, Stu, let me ask you this. And we got into a 10-minute debate.
Wow.
On this. 10 minutes. It was in like a 16-minute interview that they were doing me. 10 minutes was, 6 minutes spent on Belichick. 10 was spent on debating Tua Tagovailoa. And Channing Crowder agrees with me. Alejandro Solana agrees with me. So Hawk on his own show was on an island. Who do you think the quarterback is that you think he said was better than Tua Tagovailoa, that is perceived to be a top 5 quarterback in the league?
So this is someone that we probably wouldn't think is a top 5 quarterback?
No. Someone you would think is a top 5 quarterback.
Oh, and Tua is better than this person.
Hawk is saying Tua is better than this person.
Joe Burrow?
Bing. Ding, 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 ding. Bingo. That's what he said. Now, I was going through it, right? Like, all right, I was trying to make a point why he wasn't top 5. So I go, Hawk. Patrick Mahomes or Tua Tagovailoa? He goes, Mahomes. I go, Josh Allen or Tua Tagovailoa? He goes, Josh Allen. And then I said Joe Burrow, and I just assumed he was going to say Joe Burrow. So as he's saying Tua Tagovailoa, I'm like, wait, what? Say what? What did you say? You serious? You didn't just try to because Hawk would be the guy that would just kind of try to slide that comment in there. And then when you call him out, and he was serious. He was absolutely serious. And I said to him, go ask Chris Greer, your general manager of the Dolphins, if you'd rather have Joe Burrow to a Tagovailoa, and let me know what he thinks. I go ask any other GM in the NFL. 32 general managers in the NFL. Any of them rather have Tua Tagovailoa over Joe Burrow? No one would say yes. And this is not me saying Tua's crap. Tua's the most valuable player in the Dolphins. Tua's a very good quarterback. He's never won a big game, though. What's his biggest win in his career? Beating the Bills one time, or beating the Cowboys? And look, a few weeks ago, he's like, well, look how Tua played up against the Packers. I go, what do you mean? They were down 21-3 at halftime. So I get his final stats because everyone's like, the stats with Tua. Because he ranks like he's a top 5 quarterback, since come back from the injury. But for Tua, in that game up against the Packers, the stats look like he had a great game, but the entire team, including him, were a no-show for the first half. So this is, to me, just a conversation and a debate where I go, I don't think there's anyone else on the planet, unless you are just a dopey Dolphins fan, Mark Hochman, or related to Tua Tagovailoa, that would rather have Tua over Joe Burrow. So I'll ask you this, Stu. I'm going to name a quarterback. I'm going to name a bunch of quarterbacks. You tell me if you'd rather have that quarterback or would you rather have Tua?
Okay.
And Stu's the perfect person to do this with because you haven't had a quarterback since you were like prepubescent, right?
Pretty much, yes.
Stu was like a little child the last time he actually had a quarterback. Josh Allen or Tua?
Josh Allen.
So you would take Tua in the Dolphins, but on the Raiders, right?
Oh, yeah, I would, yes.
Okay, that was the point I'm trying to illustrate. Josh Allen or Tua?
Josh Allen.
Okay. Aaron Rodgers at this stage of his career, Tua Tagovailoa?
I would take Tua at this point.
Agreed. Drake May or Tua Tagovailoa?
I would still take Tua.
Okay. Patrick Mahomes or Tua Tagovailoa?
Mahomes.
Justin Herbert or Tua Tagovailoa?
Herbert.
Bo Nix or Tua Tagovailoa?
Not there on Nix yet, but
okay.
He could get there.
Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, whatever slop the Raiders put out there, Tua Tagovailoa.
That's funny.
Russell Wilson or Tua Tagovailoa?
Russell Wilson.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson or Tua Tagovailoa?
Lamar.
Joe Burrow or Tua Tagovailoa?
Burrow.
Deshaun Watson or Tua Tagovailoa?
Tua.
C.J. Stroud or Tua?
Stroud.
Anthony Richardson or Tua?
Tua.
Trevor Lawrence or Tua?
Tua.
Okay. Will Levis or Tua?
Tua.
Okay. So that's 7 quarterbacks in the AFC. Jalen Hurts or Tua?
Jalen Hurts.
Ooh, I think that one would actually be debatable. Because Hurts a few years ago outplayed Mahomes in a Super Bowl. Since then, it's been very up or down. I'm not saying I'd rather have Tua over Hurts, but I think that's a good one. I was surprised how quick you were on that. Jaden Daniels or Tua?
Wow. I would think I'd go Daniels.
Wow. So that's 9 right there. Dak Prescott or Tua?
I'll go Tua.
Okay. Forget the Giants.
Yep.
You're not taking Geno Smith over Tua, right?
I'm not, no.
Matthew Stafford or Tua?
For just this year, I would go Stafford.
Okay. Kyler Murray or Tua?
Tua.
Brock Purdy or Tua?
Tua.
Jared Goff or Tua?
Goff.
Okay. Sam Darnold or Tua?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'll say Tua.
Yeah, I think if you put Tua with now Tua has weapons in Miami.
Yeah.
But if you put him with the coaching and also those weapons, I think he could do what Sam Darnold's doing easily. Jordan Love or Tua?
So before the year, I would have said Jordan Love for sure.
Now you're saying Tua, it seems like.
Now I'm saying Tua.
Okay. Caleb Williams or Tua?
Tua.
Baker Mayfield or Tua?
Tua.
Kirk Cousins or Tua?
Tua.
Derek Carr or Tua?
Tua.
Bryce Young or Tua?
Tua.
Okay. So we just went through that. And there was 11 quarterbacks that I counted that you'd rather have over Tua Tagovailoa. And that was all my point to Hawk. It was, I would say, Tua's anywhere in at best, the 8th best quarterback in the league, and at worst, 12 or 13, right now in the league. And his stats since the injury, he's been ridiculous. But I couldn't believe that I had to get into a 10-minute argument with having to defend that Joe Burrow's a better quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa. That was really something. All righty, tonight we got Thursday Night Football. It's really a weird week. Now, Marco, you're in charge of following all the storylines, right? Now, you got to give all the storylines to people in a minute, 30 seconds, right?
A little less, but yeah, kind of.
Oh, yeah. How long is your update?
Me speaking, 1:10.
Oh, and then what with the
on
sponsorship?
your show?
Yes.
And then it gets longer.
1:45, I think.
At 9:30 Eastern, and then it goes to 2:10 at 10:30 Eastern.
Okay. So you're in charge of basically
kind of
giving the news that people want to hear if they only had 2 minutes.
Right.
Have you mentioned, and maybe I should have been listening more in your last two
Apparently
updates.
not.
Have you mentioned that Week 14 kicks off tonight between the Rams and the 49ers?
Yes.
You have?
Yes, I have.
But, like, I'm not going to do the Mike Francesa, I can't even believe it's Week 14, okay? I'm not even saying I can't even believe it's Week 14. It doesn't feel like there's a game tonight just because of all the Belichick news that has been there and, right, the college football playoff reaction still coming off the weekend. And, you know, I'm not saying we're going to Army-Navy, so that's on our mind as well. We're traveling. When I knew it was Thursday, so I knew there was a game, and I'm like, oh, the Rams are playing the 49ers. I was like, oh, yeah.
Let me put it this way, and this is actually a good game, and it's an important game, and it means something. It's
big.
Normally on a Thursday, that would be the lead and be playing sound, and that's actually kind of how I walked in the door today to get set up for Thursday Night Football, especially if there's a good Thursday Night Football game. Belichick, Soto, UNLV, there's enough going on. Travis Hunter, there's so many other things. Yeah, kind of last night. But yes, there's so many different storylines that are going on in the last day or so, or even just in the last few hours, that yes, Thursday Night Football, which would normally be the spotlight, has taken a little bit of a backseat until it kicks off.
Now, I know everyone's still alive to win the NFC West. I would say, though, the Niner season is on life support tonight. If they lose, they're done. The next time they lose, I think they're done, because if they get 8 losses, even if they end up going 9-8, I don't think that's going to be enough when the Seahawks are currently sitting at 8-5. I don't believe the Niners are going to make the playoffs. I don't believe the Cardinals are going to make the playoffs. Both those teams sitting at 6-7. You know, this is an early look ahead, but the last week of the season, the Seahawks play the Rams. That feels like that's going to be your Sunday Night Football.
100%.
Week 18, winner of that game ends up getting the division. And, you know, Rams win tonight. They get to 8-6. You know, Seahawks then drop their next one. Okay, you're on equal footing right there. The Rams are really dangerous. I just don't know if they're going to get in the postseason. They've done it before with McVay and Stafford. Cooper Kupp now back. You have Puka Nacua, who has been back, and he is just unbelievable. And the defense, even though Aaron Donald's no longer there, you know, Braden Fisk and Jared Verse, the 1-2 punch from Florida State. Fisk just won Rookie of the Month. Verse probably going to win Rookie of the Year. They're just a team that I think so many people counted them out after their slow start, that they really have, hey, we got nothing to lose. And they're a team in the NFC where it's been Eagles and it's been Lions, and those have been the two best teams. And then the Packers, they don't look like they're ready to take the next step. The Vikings have a really good defense, and they got a lot of weapons. But then you go, Sam Darnold, even though he's playing like an MVP, is he going to get to a Super Bowl? When it's been an open year, when you say, hey, who are the 3 best teams in the NFC? And you can list 2, and then it's like, who do you like for the 3rd spot? If the Rams get in, they could be a dangerous team. Or if the Seahawks get in, a great story, but I don't think anyone's expecting the Seahawks to do more than at most win 1 game in the playoffs.
It's because they won't. That they're just not good enough, and that's part of it. No, the Rams can be a dangerous. They could be a team, that dark horse that can, depending on the matchup or whatever it is. Yeah,
like the Packers with Rodgers when they last team in and they won that run. The Giants, Jets in the AFC Championship game those years.
I mean, I would be surprised. You said that last game. I would be surprised if it's not for the division. Let me put it this way: if that's not for the division, that means that the Rams have already won it. Because I don't see Seattle pulling away, even though they have the game advantage. Without the schedule in front of me, I wouldn't be surprised that the Rams, they've already started the run last week with the Bills game. That was a huge victory for them. I would not be surprised if the Rams put together a huge run to end the season.
So I have both schedules up.
Right.
I'm going to give you the Rams first. You just tell me win-loss, because then if I give you the Seahawks first, then it's like,
no, it's fair.
Yeah. Tonight at San Francisco.
Win.
At the Jets.
Win.
Arizona.
Win.
And then they are home up against Seattle.
Yeah.
So you think they're going to win these next 4 games?
I could see them win out. Yep.
Okay. So that would then, right now they're sitting, 7-6, right? Yeah, 7-6. So that would, wow.
That would put them at 11-6.
That would put them at 11 wins.
Right.
Imagine they end up finishing with 11 wins. But like, even
and honestly, how many games are there would be a toss-up? 1?
Yeah.
2?
No, San Francisco, I think it's a toss-up, but I lean that it's the Rams tonight. They should beat the Jets. The Jets stink. You know, division games are always toss-ups.
No, I understand that, but the Cardinals I feel like their season ended last week. That loss to Seattle, that ended their season.
Oh, that's fair. So even if you're wrong on one,
right, 10-7,
they should be down the stretch. They should be able to win 3 out of 4. They really should be.
And Seattle, I feel, is a little bit more difficult, but I don't have it off the top of my head.
So here we go. Well, Yeah, it is. This weekend they play Green Bay.
Right. Loss.
Minnesota.
Yeah, that's another one.
At Chicago.
I'll give them that because the Bears have been such a mess, and Seattle's too good to lose 3 straight in that. And then
the last game of the season, you said the Rams, which is a loss. So here's what needs to happen for Seattle.
Like I said, the Rams have a better opportunity to win the division before they even play that last game than Seattle.
You know what?
This division.
I at first when you said it, I'm like, that's crazy because of the game difference. But when you look at the schedules, the Rams schedule is easier than the Seahawks schedule. I guess the road for Seattle is you got to split these next 2. Right, Green Bay and Minnesota.
Which you'd be thrilled to splitting these 2. You hope somebody's got to trip up the Rams before to be able to take care of business in the last week yourself.
Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying, even if, let's just say, the Rams win their next 3.
Okay.
They got to split these next 2. You got to beat Chicago and you got to beat the Rams. Like, that's the way to do it.
Right. Again, not going to be easy.
That's not easy.
Let's hope that that's the Sunday night game because that'll be fun. I can't think of anything else that's going to be,
And Green Bay and Minnesota, they're winnable games. It's going to be very tough to win both.
And look, maybe this is me. I don't believe in Seattle all that much. I think they're an average football team that on some days, if you trip up, they'll beat you. They're not going to beat themselves, but they're just not that good. I don't think that's a knock. I think they're what they are when they came into the season. 8-9 win team. They're just not. They're not great. They're not bad. They're just kind of in the middle, which is a lot of the NFL.
And also, I think earlier I said tonight starts week 14. It's week 15. Obviously.
Yeah, I didn't know which week it was. That doesn't make the update. I don't usually know kicking off week whatever the hell. Yeah. I'll be fair. That usually doesn't add into.
I got to check something because I did a sports minute on this today. Let's just say this is live.
And he's asking me.
Oh, tonight we see week 15 kickoff. So I had it right in the minute. Well, that could have been really bad if I got the minute wrong, and then I had to go run out into the break and go re-record the minute if I said week 14.
See,
so I had it right on the minute.
You don't listen to me. You don't check you don't proofread your own stuff. You're supposed to be a pro, no?
What am I even doing around here anymore?
It's your show, right? You got your name on it?
You know what? I'm very unprofessional.
Take some responsibility.
I'm very lazy. I'm the worst. I'm terrible. You know what? They should move me back to 2 to 6 a.m.
Hey, you said that. I'm saying take accountability. Your show.
They shouldn't renew my
your
contract.
name on it. Take accountability.
I did. I brought it up.
No. Actually, do your job. Go back to do your job.
All right,
I'll add in for you.
You know what?
Well, yesterday I said for the politician, just do a job.
Yeah.
For you, you're a higher stand. Do your job well.
You know, I want you to go do updates in college. All right. I don't want you being here in the professional world.
That'd be a first. I didn't do this in college, so yeah.
What did you do in college? Oh no, you were.
I was a history major.
You were Connecticut School of Broadcasting, right?
Later after college.
Mm-hmm. So you were what major?
A history major. Oh yeah.
What, you want to be a teacher?
I thought about it.
I could see you being a teacher.
A lot of people said that.
I think a lot of students would like you, but then I think that there would be like a small percentage of students that wouldn't get your humor, and they would be terrified of you.
I taught adults for a long time. When you're a teaching major, whatever, you have to sit in class and sit in the back of the room or whatever, observe, whatever it was called. That first day, I think it was 3rd or 4th grade, I was observing. By lunch, I happened to go with a friend of mine who got assigned to the same school. I looked at him and I went, I can't be a teacher. And he's like, "Are you serious?" He's like, "We've been here for 2 hours." I said, "I can't do this.
Well,
I can't do this."
So here's the thing:
adults, no problem. Kids can't do it.
Hey, Marco, my dog ate my homework. Marco would be like, "I don't have time for that crap."
I don't.
You didn't do your homework because you're lazy, kid.
I have a low tolerance for nonsense. I do. For my own children, it works fine, sort of. But I can't imagine it would work real well in the school system. I don't think we would clash.
I once worked at a sleepaway camp. And the guy he wasn't the guy that ran the ropes course forever, but there was a guy that ran the ropes course for like 3 or 4 years who learned under the guy that ran it forever, and he got promoted to a bigger job with the camp. And this guy reminded me a lot like you. There was no BSing. It was like, don't complain about anything. No one wants to hear your complaints. So there is a kid that was at the camp that I'm still friendly with to this day. And one of the kids was like, "Oh, I don't want to do the ropes course today." And the guy goes, "Why didn't you want to do the ropes?" He's like, "My knee hurts." And the guy's response was, "Well, maybe if you got off your fat ass once in a while, your knees wouldn't hurt you so much."
Yeah, I don't know if I'd quite go that far, but yes, that's part of it.
Trust me, you and this guy would be like best friends, Marco, because you know nonsense.
I would tell you now, if you brought in my 10-year-old and you asked him, what's the one word that you hear your father tell you a lot whenever you kind of say something that you don't want to do. Do you know what the word that would be that comes out of my mouth? I can't tell you how many times a day.
What is it?
Tough.
You? Come on.
That's what my 10-year-old hears from me at least
that
15
and
times
a word
a day.
that rhymes with hit.
No. No.
You don't say tough S?
No.
Huh.
I've actually never sworn in front of my children.
Oh, come on.
I haven't.
There's no way you're being serious.
I'm being dead serious.
Are you?
I'm being dead serious. I haven't sworn in front of my children.
You're not kidding whatsoever?
No.
Oh, I thought you were being sarcastic.
No.
Because sometimes you can be a sarcastic ass.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
You've never cursed
I've
once
never
in front
sworn
of
on the air, and I've
not
never
even
sworn
in
in front
Italian?
I've never sworn on the air. I've never sworn in front of my kids.
Because your mother used to swear at you in Italian.
Still does.
Has your wife sworn in front of the kids? Definitely.
A few times. Yeah.
But dad has never sworn.
No.
They ever try to get you to swear?
No, I mean, I've had a couple of times where I sound like a bumbling idiot because I've caught myself in the middle of it and I stop.
Tell your kids to come to work. They'll see dad swear all the time.
Off the air. I've never done it on the air, and I haven't done it in front of my kids. Both, I'm sure, will be broken at some point in my life. Yeah. Let's hope not today.
All right, here's another mother bleeping update with Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Zach Gelb Belichick officially announces the new head coach at North Carolina. Press conference, 6-time Super Bowl winner, trying his hand at college for the first time on a 5-year deal.
I've always wanted to coach in football, coaching college football, and it just never really worked out. Had some good years in the NFL, so that was okay. But this is really kind of a dream come true. I grew up in college football with my dad. As a coach at Navy for 50 years, so as a kid, all I knew was college football, and so it's great to come back home to Carolina.
Meanwhile, UNLV has found their replacement for Barry Odom, reportedly going with former Florida Mississippi State head coach Dan Mullen on a 5-year deal. Apparently, it's Week 15 for Thursday Night Football. Rams hoping they've turned a corner with their upset win over the Bills, making it back-to-back wins. Now sit at 7-6, one game behind the Seahawks. Another huge matchup tonight on the road for the 49ers. Broncos and left tackle Garrett Bowles agree to a 4-year extension worth as much as $82 million. That includes $40 million in guaranteed money. And Colorado's Travis Hunter, your AP Player of the Year, two-way star, got 26 out of 43 first-place votes. Beat out Boise State's Ashton Genty, who got 16 votes. Both Heisman finalists for Saturday. I'm Marco Belletti.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network. That's INF Sports Network on X.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh, my God, we're back again.
So we'll get to more Bill Belichick in just a second, but the company holiday party is happening right now on the 14th floor. Now, Stu and I can't attend. It goes from 4 to 8 p.m. Eastern time because when the show ends in 5 minutes, we got to leave and we got to go get an Amtrak train at 6:25 p.m. Eastern time to make it hopefully safely to D.C. tonight so we could go broadcast from Army Navy Radio Row tomorrow. Scheduled to join us tomorrow, Robert Griffin III. Ron Rivera is going to join us, Brian Jones, and I believe E.J. Manuel. I wanted Urban Meyer because he's going to be there. Urban Meyer's doing like 2 shows, though, and that's it. Because I wanted to ask Urban Meyer, you really not going to come back coaching if Ohio State begs you? Like, you're really going to do that? So Urban politely declined our show, which, you know, is what it is. Now I could go back to not liking Urban Meyer, which is fine. Urban liar. Anyway, though, I just got a report. Because here's what happens. People go to the holiday party, and they're like, I don't want to talk to anybody else. And they come back down there, and they come back down there after they've had a few drinks. So then they hover around the studios. So Botcher's not going to the holiday party. Can I try to convince you otherwise outside it's good for your career to go?
I guess.
They got pigs in the blanket. They got steak skewers. They got prime rib. They got a lot of lamb chops up there. They shrimp, I heard, was even up there. None of that intrigues you?
Nope.
What do you like to eat?
Food, but I'm not hungry.
I'm saying you could have one meal for the rest of your life. What is it?
Peanut butter and jelly.
That's it?
Well, that's the go-to. Like, that's the old reliable.
I love a peanut butter sandwich. You're telling me, though, you're about to die.
That's different.
World's coming to an end. You are donezo. What are you eating? Last meal in the world.
Well, a good prime rib.
Okay.
But
they got steak up there. Come on,
I'm not
Bacha.
dying.
Okay, yeah, we can't have you die because we need you to run the stream tomorrow. Here is Bill Belichick one more time on could he leave UNC after a year or two. This is the hoodie.
Bill, what do you say to people that fear that if you do succeed here, that you might leave for the NFL again in a year or two?
Yeah, I didn't come here to leave.
So there you go. Here's something that I think is interesting. So Belichick's contract's never been public. We never knew how much Bill Belichick was making in New England. We never knew how many years the contract was. So Bill Belichick, his contract now is completely public because he stayed employed. Bill Belichick's buyout, according to Brad Crawford, who went through the entire contract, his buyout at UNC dropped from $10 million to $1 million after June 1st of 2025. So Belichick couldn't even coach a game yet at UNC. Just get through like spring ball, and his buyout already goes from $10 million to $1 million. Now, would an NFL team, if let's say in a few weeks, and hey, you can't say Bill hasn't left the team at the altar before, would an NFL team pay $10 million if they really wanted Bill Belichick, right, with this buyout? Yeah, they would. I don't think that's going to happen. But after June 1st of 2025, if let's say a team wanted to hire Bill for the 2026 cycle, all it would cost is $1 million. If early termination on the 5-year deal after June 1st of 2025 is $1 million. Telling me there's a chance. I went into the show, hey, this is Bill's final stop. Now I kind of think, okay, Bill does well a year or two. Not that a 6-time Super Bowl winning head coach needs this, but then maybe an NFL job would say, okay, we're on to Bill Belichick once again. Botcher, thank you, Stu. Thank you. Big thanks to each and every one of you. Devin McCourty, Marco Belletti as well. Talk to you tomorrow in D.C. at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.
You're in a 5-minute break.